Wow. Okay, yeah, so hello everybody. It's time for another Eden Open Mic. It is Monday, October 18th, 6:15 or so Eastern. And we're going to do an induction to start off this recording because Dennis Heenek here is going to be a new Eden member. So the induction script goes like this. My name is Chris Barnes, and we're here today to induct Dennis Heenek into the Eden community. I'm joined by John Williamson and Dan Singjoy of the Eden community who wish to express their support for the addition of Dennis. Dennis, have you read and understood the Eden Peace Treaty?
Yes, I have.
And Dennis, do you agree to abide by the Peace Treaty?
Yes, I do.
Very good. John, do you believe that Dennis understands and will abide by the Peace Treaty?
I do.
And Dan, do you believe that Dennis understands and will abide by the Peace Treaty?
Yes, I do.
Very good. I also believe that Dennis understands the Peace Treaty and he will abide by it. Dennis, welcome to Eden.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Welcome to Eden.
That's the script. The clockwork. We've had some derivations in time. We've seen some really short versions, which I think are quite fun. And we've seen them in different languages, different recordings. So yeah, that's that. So now we can do Jeremy's. I'll just chop this up and load it later on to the NFT.
Cool.
So should
You can
I
stay.
take my camera off, or?
I don't think Jesse cares. You can
Okay.
remain if you want. We'll do Dan,
Okay.
John. And then I'll get the EOS accounts. So Dan, just so you know how it works, like now after this, I'll collect the EOS accounts. I'll get yours and John's and then send out the on-chain request for the profile and all that.
Okay.
And Jeremy,
Sounds great.
Jeremy, Dennis, that's basically the process. So after this is done, you guys will get a link, Telegram, and then you can update your profile, your social handles. I'll upload the video, check your links, and then the other guys verify that, yeah, that's what Jeremy looks like. It matches the video, his profile picture, they attest, and you pay 10 EOS and that's it. Official membership.
Awesome.
Okay, let me read this. Here we go. Hello, my name is Chris Barnes, and we are here today to induct Jeremy Hubbs into the Eden community. I'm joined by Dan Singjoy and John Williamson of the Eden community who wish to express their support for the addition of Jeremy. Jeremy, have you read and understood the Eden Peace Treaty?
I have.
And Jeremy, do you agree to abide by the Peace Treaty?
Yes, I do.
Dan, do you believe that Jeremy understands and will abide by the Peace Treaty?
Yes, I do.
And John, do you believe that Jeremy understands and will abide by the Peace Treaty?
I do.
Excellent. I also believe that Jeremy understands the Peace Treaty and he will abide by it. Jeremy, welcome to Eden.
Thank you very much.
Although it's not official, you still have to go through the rest of it, but the video induction part, that's all in the books.
Yeah, it's the hardest
Welcome to
part.
Eden.
Now that that's over, it's pretty easy from here.
This is great. I'm excited.
Yeah. So if you, yeah, in
Nice.
fact, so the next step, if you want to, you can ping me in Telegram, your
Yep.
EOS account, and Dennis, if you could do the same.
Sure. So go to Telegram and just do our private message, my account. Is that what you want?
Yeah, the EOS account that you'd like to have tied
Yep.
to your membership. That would be great. No rush, can be anytime, but now we'll just start that process whenever.
I just sent you a message. I think you should have it just with one of my EOS accounts.
I got it. Yep. Looks like it might be your Genesis account. based
Yeah,
on-
I've gotten stuck with that one. I'm so used to it.
Yeah, no, well, a lot of people have, and yeah, it proves, right? That's one of the questions in these, like, people say they're Genesis account holders, but it's like, if you don't use your Genesis account, are you really a Genesis account holder?
I know. I've always wondered that too, of going back, because you can see it in what your current balance was in your ETH wallet, and that's always kind of hard to go back and, I mean, you can do it, but it's a lot harder, I guess.
Right on. So Dennis, do you want to tell us, you had mentioned that there's some interest from your students. Feel free if you want to share about that. Sounds interesting.
Yes, so talk with my kids, and before I get into my kids, the social studies teacher who is the one in charge of the homecoming and all of our president of each class and such. I talked to him today about this a little bit. I said I'll know more specifics. I gave him the basic idea. I said when I get it really nailed down, I'd like to talk with you about this, and he said, yeah, he'd love to hear it. So he's open to listen, which is great. When it comes to the student council elections, as far as, so we can at least get that conversation going. I'm pretty excited about that. And then as far as my students go, I've been talking about NFTs a little bit in the past to get them kind of excited. And I've been telling them about this process. And so I said, I took one of the Zoom meetings, just little bits and pieces of us talking the other day. And I said, you guys want to see this? Yeah, let's see this. So I put it up on the board, and they're like, well, what's Eden and EOS about? And I kind of explained it. And then I went to the Eden EOS homepage and what it's about, and to talk about the fractal democracy and the general idea behind it. Then they started asking me questions. Like, for example, one student, Colin is his name, asked me today, he said, well, if you have a group of 10 and you go down to 1, what happens if you have the United States of America, for example, and you want to use this for president or whatnot? What if or a lot of the talent is on one side of the tournament? Doesn't that mean that a lot of your talent will be eliminated? And I said, yeah, those are good questions. I said that there's one possibility in Dan's book, how he mentioned that maybe you can go by your birth date rather than or geographic location. I don't know. So they're just starting to ask questions about it. And then they asked about, as far as opening up their own account. I said, we got to be careful on that, guys. I said, and I have pretty much seniors. And so I'll talk to you guys about this. If this is something where they're interested not only in the democracy, but also maybe getting into EOS a little bit, even if they're 18, I'm not sure I'm comfortable having them open up an account, because that could open up a can of worms with parents saying this teacher is pushing crypto, and then in their mind they think Dogecoin for crypto and that type of stuff. And but I did say to my kids, maybe it's a possibility if after you graduate, if you're still interested and you want to open up an EOS account, maybe Eden might help that process a little bit. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that being a possibility?
Yeah, I think you would have to be careful again, with the child safety laws and stuff like that, and anything that the kid does, goes on chain and is there forever. So it's not like, there's much privacy in that sense. What I did wonder though was, what about the possibility of could there just be a sort of, a private chain, like an in-house chain just for you and your class to play with? Because that way, you have full control over it. It's private, and then you can just delete it at the end of the school year if you want to. It's it's no big deal. And then that way, each one of your students can have an account and things like that. Maybe that's a possibility there.
Yeah, I would love that. One thing I will caution everybody on is I'm relatively new to the space within a year, so I'm not a tech expert. But if there's some type of directions where it was fairly, I could set this something up like this, that'd be great. I think it'd be fun.
What, Dennis, what would be the purpose? Why are they interested in having their own EOS account? To speculate on token appreciation, or to interact on a blockchain, or both, or whatever?
Well, to be honest, right now the kids, we're talking, we're not heavy into investing yet when we get to that unit, but I did talk a little bit about why Bitcoin originally started, how there's, we had the crash in 2008, and the whole idea of we're explaining what being decentralized means to the kids and more peer-to-peer, and they like that idea. So they're just listening. They haven't really said why they're interested. I think they're just kind of gravitating to my discussions about what crypto is and what crypto isn't. And the conversations so far from me have been to educate them on what is the difference between buying a bunch of Dogecoin and Ethereum. What is Ethereum? What is having utility in a coin mean? So it's very basic stuff we're in right now, and they're just learning about it. And I would say if the average 17 or 18-year-old kid is initially intrigued because they like the idea of the price, you know, an investment part of it. But is it something that could grow deeper than that? I think it would. But for sure, that's great in their eye, especially when they hear stories of people buying this little goofy coin with a picture of a dog on it, making a bunch of money, and then so I got to kind of calm them down a little bit, and we'll see what's going on here, and then we talk about supply and how there's an unlimited supply there compared to Bitcoin, and I mean, you know, it goes with these rabbit holes. We're just starting. And so my goal is, like I said, I have two things I want to do. Now, initially, it was teach them about crypto and EOS, as well as Dan's vision of whether democracy could be. So I got two things going on here at once. Like I told you in the chat during Telegram, I could see me coming up with around 12 lessons that are about 90 minutes apiece. I'm extremely excited about it. I don't have a hardcore direction, but I think the direction might be, you know, what is crypto? How could EOS, you know, what's EOS doing in Venezuela, for example, that type of thing. The person to person, what's a smart contract? Educate them like that. And then also with the social studies teacher, and as well as my class, teach them about Dan's vision of the fractal democracy. So I hope that's not too vague. I've just been, so I'm kind of rambling on here a little bit, but that's kind of my thoughts.
I think the more that you can sort of put in their hands, the better. Again, if you had, because you could have your own chain and then have a sort of token system where students can create their own cryptocurrency just in house and trade it amongst each other, you know, student wise. And then do you have any sort of good behavior sort of award system? Like, do you give out stickers and crap like that, or?
Oh, they love stickers.
Well, again, if you replace the stickers with either NFTs or again, you know, tokens, and then if they get 1,000 of these tokens, then you give them some kind of reward, whether it's a Mars bar or, you know, whatever you do to incentivize them. That could be a thing, you know, too. But I think again, if you can give them something that they can touch and interact with, then again, their engagement will probably be, you know, a bit better. But and it'll also be a fantastic use case to properly teach them what a blockchain actually is, rather than, you know, just something that people think it's something that you speculate on. Just say, hey, it's, you know, you can keep it simple. It's just a database, but, you know, with these traits, and it's just like an Excel spreadsheet that you get on a Google Doc, but, you know, every row is immutable, sort of thing. But yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, and I would really appreciate your guys' thoughts on, you know, I have an initial vision of how you want to teach people responsibly how to understand cryptocurrencies, because it's coming. It's here and it's coming. And, you know, what really got me thinking about this is when I see a bunch of kids that are 18 getting that Robinhood app, and they're just buying that Dogecoin and they have no idea about anything. And so that's really got, you know, I want to teach them exactly what's going on. And so I see you put here difference between a contract and a promise and then smart contract. Okay.
Yeah, John wrote that. That's a pretty good one.
So is there anything out there? I don't want to have anybody recreate the wheel or anything like that. Is there some educational material out there where I can, I mean, I know there's YouTube videos all over the place. Are they organized in a fashion somewhere where I'm missing them, or I can start from ground zero, and by the end of the year, they'll have a good understanding of what blockchain and cryptocurrency is, and especially EOS?
Yeah, well, at the moment, I think our documentation is a bit poor. And again, you said you're directing them to the EOS community website.
I'm sorry.
What website did you say that you're directing people, or that you're bringing up on your screen for the kids to look at?
Oh, I'm basically just talking about my own experiences. Like
Okay.
I also do wax. So I wax NFTs I've done. And so I'll bring up what a wax wallet is. And now we're getting into EOS with NFTs, showing them what that is. I think that's a really nice hook for kids. What an NFT, the idea of NFTs and what it is, and what it isn't. And so, yeah, I mean, we talk about just like the basics of investing, and I'm just explaining that the value, you know, that what the inflation rate is 5.4% or whatever. And if you're not making that, how are you supposed to keep up? And so our conversations have been like, when is appropriate to have money in a savings account? where you're earning pretty much 0%. Maybe if you want to save for a purchase in a few months, it's okay to keep it there. But as far as investing purposes, just teaching them what crypto is as well as the traditional equities. So that's kind of where we started.
I think also focusing on the use to earn or the play to earn in the dApps. Like you could pull up John's dApp, Violet Garden, and explain the whole bidding mechanism. And it's like you're playing and you're earning money. I think that's like the kind of like the great point to explain. And these tokenomics, they're so interesting. They're so new. I think that'd be like really interesting for the kids.
Is that something, because I know I just looked at the website the other day as a member now, or which I'm going to be here officially pretty soon. I'm able to learn my way around Violet Garden. Can the kids get on there?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the current version, that's in production is again private to Eden on EOS members, but I'm happy to entertain hosting another version of it where I'll host your own sort of private Violet Garden just for your classroom only, or your school, whatever you want, and then you can you guys can play around. But yeah, they'll be able to create posts and bid on posts and things like that. Eventually, there'll also be an NFT system, so NFTs would be introduced to the software too. I'm happy to talk about that.
Okay, great. I'm just going to write some notes. So when I become an official member here, then I'll be and I get my profile done, I'll be able to get into Violet Garden and kind of play around and get comfortable with myself first. Yeah,
you'll be able to collect the UBI.
Okay.
It's like 50 bio tokens a day, and it's not bad in terms of rate. I haven't checked what it is today, but I checked last night. It was about 92 US cents per user per day that people are allowed to claim just for logging in and pressing the button.
Okay.
There's also the potential for that idea with like the Eden guest passes that I think John from Boyd mentioned last week. So
Yep.
I don't know if that might work with the students as well, where if it would make sense for them to actually participate on the main platform, or maybe there's a community within the platform. I don't know if communities are functional yet, but have it where like Eden members like Dennis can invite people.
I prefer they didn't, because I'm sure there's some sort of legal obligation that I've got if I have users under 18 that I'm probably not fulfilling right now, and I'll probably get sued or do something. I don't know. It sounds illegal to me.
I think that's great. Is there so keep in mind too, I've had some conversations with these students a little bit about crypto, but again, I think I'm gonna have to start relatively basic. And so if you think of some short, quick hitter YouTube videos where I can make it, and I'll make my own lesson, but just something I can attach to it where they do a nice explanation of kind of a lead into everything. Because we talk about using Violet Garden and tokens and such. Well, there's going to be a lot of my students that still are a little bit uncomfortable with token. What's a token? What's blockchain? Do you get what I'm saying? I'm excited to get into it, but I'd hate to lose them too quick.
Yeah. To my knowledge, anyway, I'm not sure what the other guys have, but I don't think there's anything that is short, concise, to the point that sort of introduces the basic things like tokens. Like there is tokens in general. There's plenty of content on YouTube, but in the EOS world with Violet Garden and stuff like that, I don't think that that quite exists. Maybe that's something that we should create.
Well, but then I also may not be giving our kids as much credit as they deserve. Just because I'm 53-year-old and I'm not extremely tech savvy, these kids catch on pretty darn quick. So once I play around with Violet Garden, and I'm sure they get into what is Violet Garden, what's it about, I bet you that they can. Well, I'm kind of reading over here.
Yeah, well, if you when you do log in, just shoot me a message on Telegram. Let me know what your feedback is, what you found obvious, what you didn't find obvious, and then if I need to create a sort of YouTube intro for new users of Violet Garden, then I'll do so.
Well, John, I appreciate that. Is it okay if I direct message you? Is that
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Dennis.
Yeah, I think that, oh, go ahead, Brandon.
I just wanted to chime in. It's going to kind of take us in a different direction, though, if you wanted to throw in another thought related to that. But it's to Dennis.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, Dennis, I think that if you just explain like how it works, like the rules of the game or the rules of the DApp, I would bet that that is enough for them to start understanding it, getting into like the deep roots of what a token is. And I honestly think you'd probably lose them more that way than just explaining how the DApp works.
Okay.
But that's just,
Yeah. I think, go ahead.
Right, and I'll just say sleep on it, but yeah, see if you can come up with a sort of token that could be used as a sort of currency within the class, and then with so much of that currency, again, you get rewards of sweets or you gotta say candy. But you know, it'd be cool if we can have a sort of tokenomic system where users are incentivized to get a certain amount of the token. Where it's not money, because I imagine you're going to get in trouble if it's money. But if you can give them another token that means something to them, that acts as a commodity, then that'd be good too.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, within Violet Garden, if we have our own little private kind of play room there where it's just is that what you're talking about? Within that, we can create our own token within that?
Yeah. So basically in Violet Garden, there's the sort of two components of it. There's the Violet Garden token, that's called VIO, and then you've got the EOS token. So VIO is just giving out, 50 VIO tokens per user. So we can do the exact same thing for your students, but again, why, if we can create another token that essentially represents EOS that they can, use to buy something else, then again, we can have the trade, they can trade between the two tokens, which helps replicate the same sort of incentives in the economy that's in the real world, but just within your classroom. So yeah, if you can picture what the EOS token on your network would be, that'd be good.
Sure. Well, that'd be great. No, thank you very much, John. I'll definitely be thinking about that and getting a hold of you shortly. I love it.
Awesome.
Hey, Dennis. Lovejoy here. I'm driving, so I don't have my video on. There was a really cool, I don't know if it was a podcast or an article a few years ago that I watched or read, and it was about a teacher in New York State that started issuing a currency, like a paper, funny money to their classroom. They gave out a certain amount every day, and it was a really interesting experiment, and the effect it had on the class was really fascinating. So I'll try to find that article and link it to you. But what I was gonna suggest also, in addition to whatever you might do with John and Violet Garden, is that it might be interesting, especially for learning about blockchain, if you did sort of like a blockchain role play with some sort of physical representation in the classroom. So depending on which blockchain you're trying to emulate, like say, in EOS we use DPoS, a delegated proof of stake, which I assume you're kind of familiar with.
Yes.
Where there's 21 block producers and kind of go round robin producing blocks. And I've often thought about ways to try and illustrate the way, a blockchain functions by just saying, okay, imagine that you've got a group of friends and they're all sitting in a circle, and one of them throws like an object in the middle of the circle representing a transaction, let's say, and says, this is me transferring, like a Snickers bar to Sarah. And then you just need everyone in the group to go, I see that transaction. I see that, that's happening. And, they perform the role of validating that transaction, or like one active block producer sees it and everyone else checks them. that they saw the same thing. And then it gets included in like the blockchain, as it were. And then that's recorded as a transaction. There are interesting ways like that where you can kind of role play the way a blockchain works to try and illustrate how, what the significance of that might be. And then, you could even do an experiment with like issuing sort of funny money, like I was suggesting that one teacher did in the article, and then allow the students to, interact with each other using the currency, or make the currency redeemable for certain things. I think what the teacher did in New York was they had like candy bars and stuff that they stocked, and students were able to redeem the currency for different items or whatever. I think there are interesting ways to use like paper or sort of physical tokens to simulate like principles, both with currency or with like how a blockchain functions and records transactions and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that sounds awesome.
I'd have to think about more concrete examples more. I just felt like chiming in with that general idea.
No, I really appreciate that, because and I do a lot of little things with little candy bars like that anyway. So I would love, that'd be a great introductory way to kind of talk about how blockchain works, and then I love it. I think that's a great idea.
And one other thing, as far as like illustrating like currency speculation, or people speculating on a token appreciating in value, and both like the upside and the downside to that is kind of interesting. I think somebody once said, and I'm not the mathiest person in the room here, so you'll have to help me fill in the blanks here, but somebody once said for like one person to turn $1 into $1 million, 1,000 people need to lose $1,000 essentially. So you can kind of illustrate that it's, a zero-sum game essentially. That, so you could maybe simulate, make a game, a speculation game, where you kind of, end up with winners and losers, and show like that there's kind of a cost to, that it's not just like magic internet money that shows up and no one loses. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people really get that when, they put in some money into Doge and then the price goes way up and they're like, oh my God, I made all this money, that there's, the equivalent amount of other people that are now kind of on the hook that, didn't make money, and are now holding and hoping it goes further up, just demonstrating that basic idea.
Yeah.
So that people, educate them about the fact that like they can, lose money, and maybe what the sunk cost fallacy and other things like that.
Yeah, no,
Make them into.
that sounds wonderful, and I appreciate all the ideas you're sharing. Now, this Zoom video, I'm going to have access to it, so I can go back and play it again, right? Go through all this again.
Yeah, Dennis,
Yeah.
it'll be right now. Mark Shear uploads them to his YouTube channel, so I'll send it in the recording this evening. He usually has it up pretty quick.
Okay, where would the recording be again? Is that going to be in our calendar, or?
No, I can send it. I mean, we're not exactly super organized. It's it's just Mark Shear's YouTube channel. He's been putting them up. We could probably put them on the official. We should probably put them on the official Eden YouTube channel. But I'll put a link in the chat here in a second, Dennis, for the time.
Okay, thanks.
lots of great ideas. What
Well,
might be
that-
interesting, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that definitely gives me a good start, and I appreciate you guys helping with that. So before we get on to the next thing, because I don't want to take everybody's time all the time tonight, what would be the best way for me to give you guys updates? Because you've been nice enough to help me get started. I like to keep you in the process of kind of what's going on and how things are going without you feeling like you have to attend a meeting every 2 seconds. Not that I'm against the meetings, but what's the best way to say, hey guys, here's a little snippet of what we did and here's how things are going, so I can keep you in the loop.
This is specific to your teaching and sharing of these ideas?
Yep.
Well, what you might want to do, so there's a group of us, there's 17 of us in another Telegram channel, that our express purpose is to come up with material and presentations, how-tos to expand the Eden process itself. So one member is writing a kid's story, so breaking down the Eden process into a kid's book. We've got someone who wants to do a pictorial, just a visual description of the whole thing with no words. There's 2 people who are in actual real life groups that they're going to break up this idea. And one Chuck's doing his on Wednesday. He's got a community and he's going to be in a room, deck of cards, breaking people out. Beans is doing something similar. So maybe that's a good group if you want to join there. And we had our first call today. We'll do another one next Monday, just before this call. If it works time-wise, we can maybe find another time. But it sounds there's a lot of synergy there, because the lesson plans you're coming up with, well, I would love to be able to help for sure, especially the Eden bit, because that fits directly into that group.
Right.
And then we're going to start a website specifically to host all this information, so it's in one spot, so people can go and take the single pager you can hand, or like the presentation you could use if you want to present it to your class or Lions Club or whatever.
Okay. So which
could-
Telegram group is that?
I'll invite you to it, Dennis,
Got it.
and
Perfect.
I'll message you in Telegram. Yeah.
If you do want to do like a weekly blog post or something as well, just put it up on Violet Garden, because every user on there is an Eden member, so they'll be interested in the content as well.
Yes. Blog on Eden Violet Garden.
And then you can
Thank
also
you.
feel free to just feel free to share the link for the Violet Garden post on the Eden members Telegram group, and the Eden on EOS Telegram group, and the EOS Telegram groups like the EOS Network Foundation. If you want more people to see it, then you're welcome. A lot of people would be interested in seeing in all those different groups, I'm sure.
It'd be better is if Dennis, you posted in the one, and then Dan, if you forward it for him. Teamwork.
Okay, sounds good.
I know.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? I think I was just mentioning this about like the apprehension to spam stuff. I like it when other people spam my shit versus me spamming my own shit. If that makes sense.
Right.
You
Yeah, that
can,
makes
you can
sense.
also,
Yeah.
you can send it to me and I'll have all the bees promoted out.
Sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, very good. It's a lot of Telegram. So Dennis, yeah, you'll be wrapped into that pretty quick. For now, it works. Till we all move to Discord. Jesse, when are we moving to Discord? You've already started yours up. Any idea in the ETA to do the mass migration of all EOS channels?
Yeah, so we're leading the charge here, and actually Zach Gall, he was very excited when we announced, because I'm pretty sure that he has plans to get the EOS Network Foundation on Discord. And so myself, I'm offering help. Zach, I know Josh is also very interested in moving to Discord. And so that's our goal. There's a lot of, I've gotten slack from other EOS members that they don't like Discord, but we're kind of pulling teeth getting people to Discord, and we're not going to stop until everyone's on Discord, because it's just such a better platform. It's just not even close.
I forget who, it might have been you, or I forget who mentioned it, but I read where the best way to get everyone to move over is just close down everyone just has to collectively shut down our Telegram channels to make them read only, and all the people
Right.
just move and force it.
Yeah, no, it's very easy to do, but you have to do that first. And so I think eventually we'll get there. Yeah,
Going to be a coordinated attack.
right.
Everyone at once. think, John? You're on board for Discord, right?
Yeah, for the most part. My brain says Discord. My heart says, what about the bloody decentralization? It's kind of ironic that, we're all about decentralization, and then we're like, oh, which centralized server should we all congregate on?
True.
But
true.
but yeah, I don't know. In terms of decentralized options, they're just not good enough. So I think we'll just have to bite the bullet and stay on the centralized world for now. And I think Discord is great. It's especially great for like voice calls and stuff like this, because there's no passing of Zoom links in Telegram every time we want to have a meeting. You just drop into the channel, drop out the channel. It's
Right.
much easier. And how Jesse's got organized. He's got all his channels relevant to bees under one big umbrella. So there isn't a bloody maze of Telegram channels to find. So yeah, I'm for it.
The only downside is the Discord software is a lot heavier than Telegram. And when you have someone living in Uganda and in Venezuela with poor connection, it's not as accessible to them. That's the only downside so far.
Yeah. At least Discord is pretty web browser friendly as well. I even saw that Yank, he was able to load Discord up on his Xbox because Xbox updated their web browser or something like that. So it's getting more accessible. But I think the barrier to entry for Telegram is a bit lower as well. Like if you get a completely random person that doesn't have Telegram or Discord, they'll probably have an easier time jumping on Telegram than they would Discord, I think. And it's a bit more simpler. Like it's a bit more like iMessage kind of style, whereas Discord's a bit more sort of technical and a bit heavier. Tiny bit more of a learning curve, I think, with Discord than Telegram, but I guess we'll just have to live with it.
Yeah.
Probably a few tips and tricks for Discord YouTube videos, right? Surely, tons.
Yeah. It's just a matter of getting people to check it out and spend the time learning it.
Yeah, I guess maybe. So, Jesse, is there much thoughts on an action plan to move over? Like, I would imagine you'd get like the admins for all the main channels that you want to convince to move, and you just coordinate a collective campaign and then cutoff date, right? Does that sound right?
If you could get the EOS channel, who's running the EOS channel?
Data Junkie.
If you got that one, so if that was your first domino, the rest would just go, I reckon, if you could get EOS. Because once EOS is down, I think that the rest would just follow.
Yeah, I think I'm not like leading the charge. Well, like I'm setting the example with EOSBs, but Zach Gall is gonna be leading the charge. And I think that once the EOS Foundation moves to Discord, then it's time to reach out to Data Junkie and Vigor and Shintai to get them all under like the EOS Discord. So I think that's really a job for, I think Zach's tackling that job, but I can certainly help if he wants.
Yeah.
So I think another thing that we're going to think about is that Eden doesn't really function without Telegram. Like everyone's, Telegram names and stuff are in there. When it comes to inviting people to the group, it's all orchestrated by Telegram. So
yeah, but that can change.
Yeah, that can change, but again, just don't. We just gotta be careful not to kill Telegram and then say, "Oh shit, how do we get in contact with each other?" And plus, one other good thing about Telegram, or keeping a bit of both of them going, is the sort of redundancy. Because one day Discord will go down, and then if there's Telegram to sort of back it up and that we can sort of congregate there, that might go all right. But I guess it depends.
Like all of our bees, we ask for their Discord and their Telegram handle and their social media handle for sure. We want redundancy, but we want our primary to be Discord for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could easily keep Telegram just for our EAT stuff. Like I know me personally, it wouldn't be a hardship to recognize that I'm using Telegram only for that one chat for the most part, or any PMs. But other than that, I don't have to worry about the rest of it. That'd be enough for me to be like, yeah, because Telegram's amazing.
Because Yeah, ideally in this decentralized world, I think the next best thing is called Matrix. And the cool thing about Matrix is that you can, host your own service with your own, authentication. So ages ago, I had it so that you could log into, a sort of Discord version, the decentralized version of Discord with your EOS account. You just, sign in through Anchor, and that was pretty cool because then you're talking directly to people's EOS accounts, which made it, simple. But yeah, I don't think it's ready for prime time yet. But there needs to be a greater movement for addressing this problem. It's ridiculous that there's Telegram, Discord, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, Snapchat. Like there's so many instant
Sense
messaging
Chat.
servers sorry?
Sense Chat.
Sense, yeah, I never like Sense Chat.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
And then yeah, but and they all do the same thing, right? Where imagine if email is like that. You couldn't use, you couldn't email people at Gmail if you had a Yahoo account or whatever. So it's something to think
Yeah,
of.
the best part about Discord is the color coordinated roles. So in our vast EOS ecosystem, we all have a different role to play. And so like, for example, in EOS Bees, we have 4 tiers of bees. We have influencers. And so it's just much easier to see who you're talking to, who you should talk to. Like it just facilitates conversation so much better. And so, yeah, when John came on, I tagged him as an influencer. So then all my bees know if John ever posts something in our chat, then he gets priority because he's got that influencer tag. So yeah, Chris, you should come. I don't think I've seen you.
I don't know. I'm too. I don't know. I find I'll use it. I just don't. I'm too old, I think.
No, you're not. Oh, come on.
I don't enjoy chat like on these things. It's
Old man Chris.
I know. I'm gonna grow my beard because now it's all gray, so I can fit the mentality. But you're right, Jesse. I have a Discord. I think I'm in the bees one. I just haven't. I guess share my
Are
stuff.
you?
Like, so when I tweet, I should put a tag to my tweet there. But it's like the whole shooting the breeze thing. I mean, it's fun, I guess. I don't know. I just don't.
Oh, you are. Yeah, I see you. Okay, you're here.
I feel like for
Let me give you the influencer role.
I feel like for every communication channel we add, we have to remove 2 others.
Yeah, we got to start cutting them down. All right.
So like, I think if we're migrating, we're looking at Telegram as our redundancy and the fact that it's already linked to Eden and in the profiles and stuff. Like, we're gonna have to kill Slack really quickly, in order to,
Brandon, I think we're
breaking up.
losing
to
it.
be able to use Discord, and the middle of nowhere, so it might be hard to hear me.
Yeah, it looks like Slack is a lot like Discord. Is that a fair? Like they look quite similar in terms of. I don't know. Am I off on that? That they
No.
seem pretty similar.
No, it's not.
No.
Well, actually, I don't personally know Slack that well, so I really shouldn't say. But the roles I don't believe are in Slack. And
Discord
you
might
can
be better, is what it looks like.
You can set certain permissions on each role that you have, and so that's really I think the key difference. But yeah, I don't know actually.
Okay. All right, I won't close Discord when it automatically opens on my computer. Next time I turn it on, I'll leave it on, and I'll because it pops up and I'm like, I don't use it. Whatever, close, save my resources. I'll leave it on and actually go to it.
There are a lot of similarities between Discord and Slack, and also some differences, but like overall they function in a lot of the same ways. But yeah, it seems like Discord is a lot more popular amongst people in the blockchain communities. Like it's very popular in Ethereum communities, and also gaming and NFTs and more like kind of creative stuff as well. Whereas Slack, I think, is more like for professional environments and like corporations and stuff, more commonly used.
This is a pretty sweet thing I'm reading that you wrote, John Heater. Now that I'm on Discord, did you know most DAOs are not democratic, not transparent, rely on off-chain voting? I did not know that, really. On EOS, the flexible permission system and feeless transactions enables advanced on-chain participation. The killer app of EOS is governance, and Eden OS is leading the way. Great tweet. Yeah.
Yeah, I also looked into DAOs last week. I had a conversation with a state representative in Wyoming, and I read the statutes of a DAO in Wyoming. And well, I appreciate Wyoming that they didn't have like a ton of legal language. They made it really readable. I was really happy about that. But the kind of the main takeaway that it's like there's a lot of assumptions, and John is like hinting at this in the tweet. There's a lot of assumptions that go in when people think DAO, but you can set up a DAO that's very un-DAO like. And so it's like really flexible. They make it really flexible. You can pretty much do whatever you want. But it seems like really the only advantage of running a DAO is you can have a smart contract run your company. Basically, you can accept funds through a smart contract, and that's great. But like you can have one person with like, because there's a member managed DAO and there's an algorithmically managed DAO. So you can have a member managed DAO with one person, and that's very un-DAO like when we think of DAO. It's super centralized. So yeah.
Okay, here's a question then. With all, is there value in Eden on EOS or Genesis Eden having some sort of DAO or DAC like that runs Eden? Is there value there?
Technically, you could call Eden a DAO already.
Sorry. What'd you say, John?
I would say Eden is already more DAO-like already. So technically, Eden, as it is now, is a DAO.
Yeah, but Eden is not recognized as a legal entity as far as we know, right?
Are any DAOs recognized as a legal entity? How many DAOs are called DAOs and aren't legal entities?
True, but there are also some DAOs that are recognized as a legal entity by Wyoming. There are a lot of DAOs that aren't. But the point is, by Chris's question, my answer is yes. So we can have an official legal entity.
Okay. So we need an official legal entity?
There's probably an advantage. It'd be easier to get donations from certain organizations.
Yeah, and there's a whole legal risk of like getting a cease and desist order.
What about the idea of like, so do these DAOs generally, are there roles or DACs? Like, is there a set of roles that then people like board of directors or executives?
Yeah, so you write in, at least in Wyoming, you write there's an operations agreement, and it's literally a blank piece of paper that you write. Like, here's how the DAO should be run. I think I saved, here, let me pull up this document real quick that I saved of the questions it asked when you're writing this operation agreement. Hold on.
Because here's the thought. What if Eden, quote unquote Eden, puts together a Pomelo pitch to receive core funding to fund Eden more like an actual organization with roles that exist outside of the election. And so to do that, we could then have a DAO or a DAC that runs that.
Right. So here I found it. So this isn't required to answer, but these are just suggested things to put in the articles of organization. So there's actually 11 things. If we get bored, I can stop, but I'll just start from number 1.
No, yeah, this sounds cool.
Relations among members and between the members of the decentralized autonomous organization. Number 2, rights and duties under this chapter of a person in their capacity as a member. 3, activities of the DAO and the conduct of those activities. 4, means and conditions for amending the operating agreement. 5, rights and voting rights of members. 6, transferability of member interests. 7, withdrawal of membership. 8, distributions to members prior to dissolution. 9, amendment of the articles of organization. 10, procedures for amending, updated, editing, or changing applicable smart contracts. And finally, all other aspects of the DAO.
Those are awesome. Those are totally not that hard to answer. Like those are,
Right.
that's pretty reasonable. There's no ridiculous legalese there at all. Amazing.
They did a really good job with their statute in terms of making it really accessible.
That's incredible. I mean, it almost makes me want to move to Wyoming. It sounds like a beacon of hope.
Actually, is Lovejoy still here?
Yeah.
Because Lovejoy, I heard in one of your videos with Francher, you were suggesting that the Colorado cooperative was perhaps a better mechanism to run a DAO than Wyoming. I was wondering if you can elaborate on that.
The last time he was speaking, he was really breaking up. So I'm imagining he said he was kind of in the middle of nowhere, so maybe he can't hear.
Oh, right.
No elaboration.
But anyways, I did a quick search of Colorado cooperative. I didn't see anything about legally recognizing a smart contract, for example. So I'm not really sure what Lovejoy meant by that, but the Wyoming structure seems really good, at least to me. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but we're definitely looking at it for EOSBs.
Okay. That's awesome. I think we should do it for Eden.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying before, Chris, I think that a couple days ago that Eves came in one of the channels and you had a chat with him and he was recommending to do something like that, right? Basically to apply for funding from Pomelo for like the chief delegates or maybe Eden as a whole. I'm not exactly sure.
That's exactly it. Yeah. I didn't want to, I wanted to like ask the open question to see it. Yeah, like Eve has basically suggested that we could form a DAO or DAC as Eden, and then that entity can request funding or at least do a Pomelo pitch to obtain additional funding to work on projects and do potentially core positions within that, like core roles, core funding through a Pomelo pitch, which then the EOS Network Foundation could also then potentially supplement if there's opportunity there or good just cause.
Right. I think I remember him writing too that it could be such that like the actual winnings or like funding rewards for the delegates could be like a small amount compared to the amount that's earned from Pomelo. He said that, I don't know, something like it was like he said like a side amount or something.
So I can read it here what he wrote, which is great. So he said,
okay.
What about Eden Board itself applying for Pomelo? Would that qualify as a public good? That would give them one common budget. And then that was that. There's a couple other things we can talk about for the next meeting that we're going to have John and Brandon that he suggested, but one of them is just this: should we form a DAC or a DAO? and then apply as a group through this entity. Because otherwise, the suggestion was always, before we talked about it, that John could do a Pomelo pitch for Violet Garden and Jesse could do one for the bees. But we never really considered collectively we could do one for the organization. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, and we would need to have a legal entity in order to do that. Is that correct, or is that a different discussion?
I think probably, yeah, because I think for Pomelo, you need to do KYC to receive funds. So I'd imagine there'd be some sort of restriction that, yeah, maybe a legal entity.
Okay.
And it makes sense anyway, because this way we can have core roles within Eden that help Eden do what Eden needs to do as an organization to grow and expand, that can be outside of the election process and even EOS kind of in a way. I mean, not necessarily, because you're getting funding from the foundation. So it still has to be EOS-centric, I guess, in this case. But it could be just, and then the roles are maybe approved by the board. And if you want to say there's like 3 foundational roles that are like a salaried position, then the board has, like the elected chief delegates have the ability to change those roles out, maybe. That's the one question we'd have to answer, right? Like, what are these roles? Who then picks the roles, and how does succession work in those cases?
Yeah, well, again, so you could have the chief delegates like a board. So again, if you had a company that's been running for 10 years or whatever, and then the board gets renewed in a whole, as a brand new board, doesn't mean that the cleaner has suddenly lost his job or whatever it is, sort of thing. So yeah, you could have hired roles in Eden, and then they still remain despite the the board change. And then if the board want to then fire them or get rid of them and stuff, they can do so. But yeah, you could have sort of dedicated people, and so again, if they're proving their value, then again, they'll keep their salary, or not salary is probably not the best word, but
Could be, but it helps solve the question we came up with.
Sounds too legal when you say salary.
Oh yeah, maybe. But like in terms of who owns all the assets, like the YouTube, the Twitter, like that, then because we're all like kind of like next election could be totally different people. So this whole handoff seems difficult to try to orchestrate. But this way, it gives a way to do some of those core functions outside of the election process, which
Exactly.
Yeah, well, if you had CEO kind of style, yeah, have a few executive people have access to the keys to the castle, sort of thing, and then the board can then say, hey, do this, do that with it, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That might
This could
work
be,
well with the
I think,
holacracy as well.
Pardon?
I was just adding that it might work well with the holacracy framework that you and I think Joshua was focusing on mostly.
Right. Yeah, in terms of deciding what these core roles are, for sure, it would fit
Before that, though, we still haven't, like, where's the mission statement of Eden on EOS? Like, what, have we declared what the point is? Like,
yeah, it was Dan's book.
It's not explicitly clear as to what the hell we're doing still.
No,
or what it is we're trying to do, and what responsibilities we're trying to take over and what we're not. We got to address that before we can really expand. I think that's sort of holding us back.
Yeah, I agree. And not to make this like a chief delegate thing, but as a chief delegate, I would hope that our legacy as the first chief delegates, like this conversation, I think should happen before whether, like, who should get funding, what should we do with our funds, is like kind of write up like we got the bylaws, get a legal entity, set up a legal entity around it. And like when I think bylaws, I think what John's saying, like, what's our mission statement? Like, let's be like the Constitution chief delegates. Let's be like the founding fathers of this. And that could, I think that is like the role of like the first ones here. I don't know. I think that's good to work on.
Especially with, because like, we don't have someone at the in the driver's seat of Eden on EOS like full time, do we? It's still like, you know, the chief delegates will make decisions when we have our meetings and stuff like that, but we don't have someone that's sitting there in the driver's seat, you know, 8 till 5 kind of thing, working on it full time. And you know, we can't expect, you know, just because Aaron wants audition doesn't mean he has to then, you know, give up his job and put his time towards that. So again, you know, he's, you know, we could technically just see him and the rest of the chief delegates as, again, board members, and then they decide who the CEO or whatever the hell you want to call him should be.
Totally.
But again,
Totally.
can't have a CEO still without the bloody mission statement, because like, what the hell do we get him to do other than, oh, that sounds cool, do that, oh, that's a good idea, do that too. It's like, yeah, but what's the long-term goal?
Yeah, we can come up with something good. I think we kind of know in the back of our minds what it is. Like the CEO is facilitating Eden, and working on the goals of the board, right? I mean,
yeah,
with inductions and
yeah. So, but yeah, the overarching mission statement, what, just make EOS a better place by, I don't know, and then you know, how much overlap, you know, and then whatever mission statement that we do have, we then have to look at, you know, EOS Networks Foundation's mission statement and see what overlaps as well. Because, you know, it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of overlap, but then we don't want too much overlap, because then, you know, we'll say, oh, we're going to do this, and then EOS Foundation will be like, no, that's our job, you're not doing it. You know, you're overstepping the mark, you know, back off. So whatever mission statement that we do propose, it's got to be something that Dan Larimer kind of has his blessing on, and I would say EOS, you know, Foundation as well, ideally.
yeah, but we gotta propose something and then give it to them and get their blessing. But the mission statement is going to be Eden centric, at least from my view. I don't see us stepping on anyone's toes. We got plenty to do in the Eden world.
Well, what's the point of, but what's Eden trying to do? What's the point of Eden?
To facilitate a fractal democracy.
How about dual mandate? We could have dual. We just have two core pillars.
But a fractal democracy that rules over what?
Nothing, just the ideas, spreading the ideas. Because it's a process, right? So people can choose how they want to apply it. It's not
well, it's a means
the funds, John. It rules over the funds.
Is that all it's going to be then? Just ruling over funds, just funds delegation? Is that all we can do? So the mission statement of Eden on EOS, the mission statement of Eden on EOS is give out money, give out the money that we're given
to facilitate a fractal democracy.
Well, that doesn't work then. Like, how's Violet Garden facilitating a fractal democracy?
By rewarding members of Eden. I was going to say more, but I don't have any more. But yeah, that's what it does.
No, it's not that. See, we all have the same.
But in that sense, I'm getting money from Eden to then give to Eden members that was already given to Eden in the first place. So yeah,
you guys have left out a really. I think you're leaving out a really crucial point, which is that this is Eden on EOS, not Eden OS here. So it's not like our prime directive is promoting fractal democracy. We're using fractal democracy as a tool, hopefully to improve EOS.
Okay.
So
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Well, if we change the goal to that, then so mission statement, governance of what the EOS chain and making EOS a better blockchain.
I would think so. Something to that effect.
Or perhaps we can. I know Dan had mentioned that he'd like the Eden consensus mechanism to eventually replace the DPoS, and to use Eden to select the block producers, so we can help with that. Like use the Eden consensus mechanism for the EOS blockchain governance.
Okay, so if the mission statement is to, well, if that were the case, and that's what the long-term goal is, and again, the mission statement of Eden is to govern the EOS blockchain entirely. And so, because once you've got, you know, block producing rights, then you do own the chain essentially, other than, you know, the token holders that could fork if they wanted. So in that case, are the block producers currently going to be supportive of that? Given that they're the ones that are making those, you know, sweet, you know, block producer pay, and then again, we got to ask, is EOS Foundation going to be happy with that as well? Because again, the power would be going to us, and their funds that they're getting would be under, you know, our control, and it'd be up to us as to, you know, we could then decide how much inflation that they get,
Right.
I don't know how much inflation that we get. So
Yeah, that's our job, to make them okay with it.
is that our job then? Because before we were just talking about allocating funds out to network projects, and we were just a quirky way of handing out money.
No, we were just getting to the point. No one actually said that. We were just iterating to this point that we're on now.
You know, okay, well, hold on a second. This, you know, I think we're aspiring to move towards a more of a fractal governance of the EOS blockchain, but how that happens and over what course of time, I think time being the key element here, and maybe faster than any of us think, but I don't know that it would be super, you know, politically advantageous to just like put that as a badge and wear that like right out front, as opposed to like bringing other forms of value to the blockchain and kind of, I mean, I don't think it's a secret that that's an aspiration, but I would question the wisdom of being too forthright, you know, like right. I know this is being recorded, but you know, just there's tactfulness here, I think, in not totally getting carried away, I guess, you know, getting too big for our britches too soon. You know, like there's like right now we have a pretty modest budget, and you know, we're just starting out. I think there are other really foundational things that we can figure out that, you know, don't take us to the shores of direct conflict with anybody quite so quickly.
Yeah, well, we're not going to do anything that's meaningful without creating some sort of conflict somewhere. But yeah, you know, if we regardless, we could have a mission statement somewhere. Otherwise, we don't really know what the hell we're doing. And then again, you know, someone's going to have an idea for governance, and then someone say, "Oh, and we're not about governance. We're just about handing out allocation of funds." And then this sort of question as to what the hell we're doing sort of remains forever. And then again, we're never going to be taken so seriously by other organizations, other DAOs, and, you know, even EOS Foundation for more funding if we, I don't know, can't. Because without the mission statement that we all sort of congregate on and sort of meet each other, then we're not really going to get along as well as we could do if we don't have the shared goal.
I remember Yves saying in an interview that he supports the idea, but that was just one person.
Yeah.
I think Lovejoy, your point is very well taken. You know, this is the challenge of our position. And we need to find the right balance here.
I think it makes sense for the mission statement to include both helping EOS and Eden in just like one short sentence that includes both. Something like mission statement of the Eden on EOS organization is to empower EOS and to pioneer the Eden OS software and lead the way for more Edens. That, how I said it, places more focus on Eden, but just, cleaning that up and getting that general idea that it's like a dual purpose mission statement that's both specifically to help EOS and then at the same time also to pioneer Eden on EOS because we're the first, or pioneer Eden OS because we're the first Eden. So we're also leading the way in that regard.
So maybe.
And then, and that's also,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was also going to add too, I don't think that creates any conflict. Like John was mentioning before, that there's some conflict created either way. And, I suppose people aren't, some people can always find something to be disappointed with, but we can do it in a way where we're just helping everybody and creating more value for everybody. Like it's not taking power away from current people in EOS, like block produce, something like that, because we're empowering EOS and helping to fund the most helpful contributors and projects and so forth on EOS.
Well,
I think that's a
if we-
very excellent
So-
way to frame it.
Yeah, and also the problem
Go ahead,
with
John.
like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Lumker.
I would say we can't get power ourselves unless we take it from somewhere else. Like there's only a pie, and so if someone doesn't give up their slice, then again our power is always there. So that that doesn't mean like that's the wrong thing to do, but again that should be pointed out as to how far we're reaching or whatever.
There's something
That power
else.
has been given.
Well, I think I just wanted to
Okay.
say I think that the focus on grabbing power is misplaced in terms of thinking about just us, because really it's about putting power in the hands of the token holders more broadly. And I think that's where all the different players are ultimately aligned.
Yeah,
Well,
breaking up, but
do we want to put power in the hands of the token holders, or do we want to
Maybe
put
the block
hands in the?
producers won't be happy with that, but I think that's the dream. That's the dream. Yeah.
there's a
token holders is Eden.
Lovejoy, you're not very clear, dude. We lost a lot of what you're saying there, but go ahead, Jesse.
yeah.
Sorry,
I
go
think
ahead. Go on without me. I'm leaving.
The goal of using the Eden consensus mechanism to select the block producers is challenging across different languages. If we're going to have an Eden for different languages, how is one Eden going to select for block producers around the globe? To me, that like Dan's vision of that is contradictory with how he plans to scale Eden.
Well, can't we just have an Eden of Edens and then they come together, one for each language, and then together they decide on the block producers?
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
So to have like a
No, long term.
bilingual Eden.
Yeah, well, the head honchos of each Eden are just going to have to, although technically they don't even have to get on a Zoom call, they could just get on a chat and then coordinate with Google Translate. But in a perfect world, we'd also be moving, slowly learning Esperanto so we can get rid of this, language barrier crap. And
What is that?
better.
What did you say? Esperanto? What?
Yeah, Esperanto. It's like the
What is
middleman
that?
language. So it's like a language
Oh.
built of many languages into one, and it's designed
Okay.
to for everyone to learn and be easy to learn. And then again, if they could have a call in that, then again they could coordinate together as a sort of top level Eden, and then determine who they want the block producers and stuff to be.
So is that the Genesis Eden, the top level Eden?
Well, no. Genesis Eden is the English Eden, isn't it? So that there'll be the top level Eden, which is just to be a member of that Eden, you have to be a head delegate.
No, but you guys said it's bilingual. The top Eden is bilingual. That's how we can select block producers across the world. So then that could be
it wouldn't be, the membership wouldn't be, it would just, they would just use that language. But again, in order to be a member to begin with, you still have to be a head delegate.
Okay, but then how are we going to select block producers across the world?
with the top level Eden.
Personally, I
That
don't
needs
think
to
we
be
do that.
bilingual.
It doesn't need to be bilingual. They can what was wrong with Google Translate?
If we're
It's not very
I think
good.
this is also,
we're doing a poll about who actually wants to do this, I'm gonna go on the side of, I don't think Eden should pick the BPs, just like explicitly
okay.
like this, where it's just subjective. Whoever wins, whoever's at the top, they're like, ah, yeah, there we go. These two did it. Personally, I
So-
don't think that's the way to go.
So you don't think Eden should ever have that power? Then they should Eden should never have that sort of governance power over the US blockchain.
I think there's other ways to introduce more power from Eden members to influence DPoS. But I don't the way
How?
you're describing it, no, I'm not in favor of what you're saying. No,
Why not?
because I think it's too subjective and it's not necessary. It's
What do you
like,
mean too subjective?
it's just that, it's too subjective. If the individuals, so election happens, new people are in place, and now they get to pick the BPs, pure subjective choice. That's too subjective in my view.
Well, they could pick based on geography and reputation and things like that, and then
All
you know
subjective. I choose that. you
Yes,
choose
it's
something
subjective.
different.
Yes.
Very subjective.
It's
So that's not a
subjective.
good way to do it.
what's wrong with that?
I think that's too easy to be corrupted. It's not necessary also. So it's like, what are you trying to solve? Why the change? Is there other less difficult solutions maybe?
Yeah. So Chris, what
Yeah,
other
'cause-
ways would you do it?
I would, so what are we trying to solve? So first of all, do it. So why are we doing it? So we want Eden members, we want to change the BP selection. Why exactly?
Well,
I'm curious.
Because of the Pareto distributed wealth differences.
Whoever runs the BPs or controls the BPs controls the network. So you know it's sort of giving that power to Eden, because if Eden runs the EOS blockchain, that's what they would have to do, is have control over the BPs to make it, you know, legitimate and give them legitimate power. And you know, one of the problems that we see today is EOS is still like, you know, every other blockchain. Whoever the richest is owns the network. It's the rich that own EOS today. Whereas if we have, you know, Eden that has it, it's you know, one person, one vote in the sort of, you know, fractal sense, and then people of many communities around the world can come together. And so it's, I'd say, far more decentralized at the moment. You know, realistically, it's the Chinese that own EOS. They have the majority of the block producer power. Last time I checked, you know, 15,
Currently.
14.
So here's
Yeah, well,
a-
currently, but you know,
Yeah.
unless we're going to get a fuckload of money, that's what the case is going to be.
I think
And
you're-
again, is that all we want to? Is that the blockchain that we want to support? Just another blockchain that whoever is the richest gets to control it. I thought we wanted something that was a bit more democratic and
how
it
many
was
votes
based
are
on.
being voted right now? What's the top vote right now? The top BP, how many votes do they have? 320 million or so, right? How many tokens are there in total?
I don't know.
Seems
No,
like
but
there's-
that's magnified. Those
there's a
numbers
big
are
gap.
magnified.
Well, the point is not all tokens are being voted. And then let's point, so what is the issue with the current vote distribution? It's actually mostly that exchanges have all the tokens and they're voting. Do you agree that maybe is a problem in and of itself, if resolved?
Yes.
So here's a potential solution. What if Eden creates, and I mentioned this in the chat, but what if Eden creates an incentive for actual token holders who leave their tokens, they don't self-custody, they give to the exchange, Eden becomes some sort of incentive, we got to figure out what that is, maybe VIO is the answer, where they then want to pull off of an exchange, create an EOS account, and actually stake their tokens. Maybe there's another incentive to do with staking their tokens.
But
Maybe, go ahead.
even without the exchanges, we're still held to the Pareto principle, right? Like 20% of the people have 80% of the wealth. Well, we've done nothing to address that.
That's well, I just want to fix the exchange bit and self-custody, and then we'll see what happens at that point. But right now,
Well, it does nothing about the Pareto principle. It does nothing. It doesn't differentiate us from any other blockchain where the rich get to control it. There's no democratic sense to it.
Maybe Eden, no. What if as an Eden member, you delegate your proxy, there's an incentive to delegate your proxy votes to the subjective choices of Eden members, like the EOS rate tool.
Still not enough.
How do you know?
Because to the 20% have 80% of the power.
Well, 320 million votes is all it is to be the first place VP. So you're telling me there's not enough votes to change it up a little bit? You sure there's no exchanges that have a ton of votes that they're not using?
a tiny bit, but so
Tiny
long
bit,
as it's as it makes economic sense.
70.
Well, you know, as long as it makes economic sense to buy the tokens and then own the network, which we've seen on delegated proof of stake before, and we see today in EOS, we're not getting enough vote power to make any influence on that. And then and Dan knows that, and that's why I'm guessing that's why Dan, you know, likes the idea of Eden having more of the power.
And it can, in this exact way I've described. That doesn't break deep.
Nah, it makes
so
no economic
confident.
sense.
You're so
Because the numbers don't add up. Yeah, I'm definitely confident
because
because
70% of the tokens aren't voted.
It
320
makes
million
economic sense, John, but it doesn't push the lever into the goal that you're looking at. That's a problem that can be solved. But I think it's really interesting to figure out as a collective group of chief delegates, how risk averse or risk tolerant are we in our goals? And that's just something that we're gonna have to figure out. Because John and Chris, I understand both, and Lovejoy. I understand where all you guys are coming from. And to me, it's just a matter of what's our risk profile here.
well, yeah, well, but again, this illustrates that, you know, amongst us, even the chief delegates, we're still not settled on, you know, the same sort of, you know, mission statement, which is again
Right.
is creating, you know, conflict. Because, you know, I like the idea of Eden going all the way. I like the idea of Eden, you know, Edens together ruling the EOS, you know, blockchain, and having that, you know, direct control over the BPs, where Chris, you know,
Well,
sees
it's
it.
It's a good thing we're excellent consensus builders, because that's what we're
Yeah,
doing.
well, but yeah, so
Fine.
regardless of where the hell we want to drive this car, the point is that we were not agreed on where the destination
Yes,
is. Kind
point
of thing.
taken. Yes.
So we got to address that. Otherwise, it's because we're going to go to shit, and it's going to be a
Right.
bit.
We got to
embarrassing.
address that first before we talk about anything else.
Yeah, like where the hell's the destination? Because everyone's got ideas. You know, there's some people that want to use Eden to save the environment. So, you know, everyone's got different ideas on what the hell to do with this thing. So the better, the clearer, the quicker that we come out with a mission statement, the more aligned people can be, and then people that are interested in it will stick around. People that aren't interested, you know, can go off and do, you know, create other organizations to that you know, are going towards their goals. So maybe we should try see if we can get on a call with the bigger players like Dan and Eve or something like that.
We can invite
Okay.
them to one of our meetings.
Yep.
To discuss how we can maybe use Eden to replace block producer selection.
Yes.
Well, no.
I love
No,
it.
but first,
No,
first,
joking,
Small changes.
joking.
We only have some minor suggestions here. They're just going to completely
Yeah.
flip everything up on its head. And ENF, you know, you're getting all your funding from the BPs, but you know, we're just going to kind of fuck all them over and kick them out, and Eden's going to pick. You cool with that? It's a dead in the water. You have to fight. You need a whole different approach if you want that to happen. Is my point.
yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're just talking about, you know, what the hell the destination, you know, is of that. And then
Yeah, we can at least broach
that
the
Eden
subject
members pick
and see
BPs.
what their reaction is.
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying that we could put all the options on the table, and then we can gauge the reaction by each one of those, and then that can facilitate our mission statement.
Yeah. Well, we figure out what the mission statement is, and then after that, we figure out, you know, how the hell we're going to do it. But yeah, I'd be in support, because otherwise we're no different than any other delegated proof of stake chain. Really, we're just a DAO that's giving out money and doing and just, you know, playing with, you know, with the Eden framework in terms of our governance in our little DAO.
No,
Whereas
there's
this-
one
this-
major difference. We have Eden. Eden makes it entirely different, because
Yeah, but we're just a DAO that uses Eden. That's it.
which other ones use Eden?
Well, none. But that can't be that can't be the only thing. It doesn't matter what, you know, election process that we use if we don't actually do anything with it.
That's agreed. We do something with it, but it's an advantage. All the DPOSs don't have an Eden. We agree on that, right?
Yeah, we agree on that, but that's not enough. That's just
Okay,
boring.
let's
Like, you
start
know,
somewhere. It's not that boring though. I disagree. It's not that boring to think that there's an actual real person identity on a blockchain now. We've solved the trust barrier and we've broken through this idea of pseudonymous and anonymous accounts to now actual civil protection on a blockchain. And as we grow and we have 1,000 members, different cultures, that's something that can be leveraged. Yes, it can absolutely help in block user selection. So DPoS, it's different. It's not the same as the other DPoSs now.
but it's not going to do anything if we can't coordinate on something. So, you know, we
Who says
don't
we
have
can't
that.
coordinate? That's a defeatist view. We can
Yeah,
absolutely.
but again, you know, if there's nothing to coordinate on, then you can't coordinate, can you? And when the question is, what the hell are we trying to coordinate on?
Baby steps. I don't think the mission statement should be to make sure the future mission statement of our group is to select all the BPs. That's the mission statement of Eden. That to me is kind of entirely not even worth mentioning. It's more about
I don't
what
know.
Dan was saying, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
it depends on.
use fractal democracy. What Lovejoy also said, we're using fractal democracy to select leadership and representatives to delegate community funding, to empower and grow and expand the EOS ecosystem. That's always what I've considered this to be about.
Yeah, but is that all it's going to be then? Is that all we want it to be? Is that what our mission goal is?
Primary, that, and then maybe Eden, grow Eden as a thing. That's
Cool.
about it,
Well,
in my mind.
we'll work that out. But yeah,
Chris,
I feel
did the founding fathers think baby steps?
Do they think baby steps? Probably, because every major mission begins with baby steps. So yeah, you got to bite it off in bite-sized pieces, right?
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, once we work out what the mission statement is, then we know. But yeah, I think we'd be selling ourselves short if all we did was just contain ourselves to the world or just handing out funds to certain places. And I think using Eden as a method of doing that would be a bad choice. I think it would be better just sharing the pool. Like if we got 1 million EOS to share out, just share it amongst every single member as a dividend, and they can do what they want. You know, we could give them the direct choice. I don't think, you know, Eden is a good way of facilitating that. Just be
Worked for you
easier
so
to-
far. I mean, even though you're entirely against it, it sounds like at least that your idea and your ability to present your idea was delegated.
I would dare
Trusted you with funding. That's a pretty good process.
Yeah, but I would dare say that I might have got more funding if people themselves got the money and they could vote. You know, that they could have delegated their funds directly. Who knows? Because again, most of the money went to Sortition. You know,
That's
right?
Pomelo.
So
what you
so-
just
so-
described is Pomelo. The community can decide with Pomelo.
yeah, but I would say, you know, a more effective, you know, a way of handing out funds would be Pomelo, or you know, yeah, I would say if that's all Eden is going to be. Is there much point to Eden then if Pomelo, you know, that does it better?
Okay,
I think.
here's a question: what do you want to see Eden be? Like, what is your what would you like to see?
Yeah, I want to go.
Well, he
I wanna
already
go
said.
all the
He already
way.
said.
Go all the way. Control the BPs
Okay.
to fulfill Dan's vision. Because then that's brand new. Like every chain in the world right now, or any decent chain anyway, is under the richest rule. The richest rule Bitcoin, the richest rule Ethereum, the richest rule EOS. And I want to change that. I want to come up with a way where that's not the case. And so yeah.
Well, it certainly won't be done in 3 months or 6 months. And the next delegates can change the mission statement, but
well, actually, no, I don't think should they be able to change the mission statement. If they can change the mission statement, then we're never going to get anywhere.
of course.
I don't know.
The DAO has to have it. So the DAO gets formed. The DAO has a mission statement. There has to be, as you mentioned, like number 8 or 9 or whatever, Jesse. You have to be able to update. If you could send that doc, by the way, I'd really appreciate it. The one you're reading. from
Yeah, I
earlier.
will.
But the DAO has
It was
the DAO has a
amendment
mission
of
statement. Yeah.
yeah, amendment of the articles of the organization, that you can amend the articles of the organization.
Which would include
So
mission
the new chief delegates could amend, but perhaps we do it like bylaws. Maybe the mission
Exactly.
statement part of the bylaw,
exactly.
that you can propose it. So we're going to propose these propose the mission statement. We're going to be proposing bylaws. Let's see if the next chief delegates will approve it.
Yep.
So whatever we agree on, let's see if it stays.
I
And,
don't know,
and perhaps,
but-
John, if we put what you, and I understand, I kind of support you too. But perhaps it has no chance of getting approved at this time.
Not only is it not get us approved, if the BPs know our explicit mission statement is to make them obsolete, do you think they're going to support?
No,
this?
it's not obsolete, Chris.
It is.
They can, no, they can win in the Eden election process. They're still the BPs.
They're
They just have to
incumbents.
win
They're
in
not
a
gonna-
different
they're not gonna
process.
allow, yeah, but they're not going to allow another process. I think Binance is going to.
Okay, but it's obsolete's not the right word.
But BPs are only BPs because they get money, right? So if we can create a chain where the EOS token holders still, you know, get money and there's still the, you know, the processes in place where the value of the token goes up, that'll be better. You know, part of the biggest
No.
criticisms of EOS is that token price has not moved. And all the BPs are doing now is just, you know, mooching off that inflation, or most of them, you know, there's still, you know, a lot of good BPs, of course, that are just busting their ass off.
They
But,
have the infrastructure. They don't just collect money. They have sophisticated infrastructure to produce blocks. Yeah, I mean, you made it sound like anyone can be a BP.
well, a lot of them are just running in the cloud, aren't they? So
I don't know.
I don't know. There's a few BPs out there that again they just, you know, get their rewards and then they leave the building, that they get paid and that's it. But anyway, the point is that BPs, majority of people, a lot of BPs are BPs because they make money and that's it. If there was no money, they'd no longer be, you know, BPs. And then we got, you know, the good BPs that, you know, like EOS Nation and Grey Mass and the rest of them that are there, you know, participating in the community and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think we could say, oh, you know, if we're changing the system, then BPs are obsolete, therefore token holders, and it's no longer profitable. I think we'll just be switching it up. So yeah, they'll be giving up power, but then there'll be also the token price will go up and they'll be making more money that way as well. So,
But they're not necessarily giving up power, because they can go through the Eden process and get power that way.
yeah, but again, what's the likelihood of them keeping the same power? Like, you know, I don't think they're going to get
Depends
more
on
power.
the BP.
Chances are they're going to be getting less power than what they have today. I like that they're not going to want to roll the dice on that deal. So yeah, I would say that they would be losing power there.
Not necessarily.
I think in
The
most
BPs
cases.
already gave up power. To some extent, the BPs already gave power to the Eden community through the EOS Foundation by providing the EOS Network Foundation with the inflation and the rampies and so forth. That's money and that's power. And they're trusting that with that power that they're giving to us and the EOS Network Foundation, that will create more value for everybody. So they're giving power, and they already have. And over time, if we continue to fund great projects and great leaders and help use the Eden process to help lift up leaders and help out the community, then that raises the token value, makes everybody happy, and then they'll be happy to give more power to, or tokens to the Eden community to keep creating more value for the BPs and everybody in EOS and the world.
Yep.
Well, very interesting discussion, fellas. I'm looking forward to this DAC thing. I think that's a good baby step. Start
Sorry,
a
the
DAC.
what?
Looking forward to what?
Start the DAC up. Or a DAO, sorry.
Yeah.
This Wyoming DAO thing for Eden.
Yeah. If we can get that legally set up, if we can maybe use the funds, some of the funds to hire a lawyer, maybe that would be good.
Mhm.
And
Well,
to
we-
get that could be a good
We still
mark
need a
to make.
proper assessment, you know, of the pros and cons of becoming a legal entity, don't we?
We can get a lawyer for that.
I Yeah, I totally. I mean, I'd like
Well,
to hear. To me, the pros outweigh the cons. Personally,
I think so. I'm with you on that, especially the idea of having a mission statement, vision statement, a legal entity that can facilitate donations, restricting the ability for a cease and desist order that affects all of us, and setting up core roles that can be funded through Pomelo because we'll have an entity that we can submit through. And it makes another avenue for the Eden Foundation or the EOS Network Foundation to fund Eden instead of just
yeah,
going to
but
the Treasury.
it also
Creates a
then
lot. What's the
it can-
negatives, John?
it can threaten our independence, and suddenly
Right.
we're bound by whatever this. What is it? A state that we're registering? Whatever state governs
yeah,
us?
Wyoming.
Okay, so Wyoming passes a new law next year that says we can't do something that we wanted to do. We go, oh shit. Then we're
Yeah, so-
just
We can disassemble the organization, and then we're kind of back where we started from.
Good solution.
So just
What's next, John? He's banging all these. It's a good idea. But where's the balance?
I don't know. I feel like once we're in the legal realm, well, how do you do that then? Do you get the chief delegates to then agree on ejection, or do you have the bylaws and stuff like that? And once you're on the government radar, you're on their radar, right? So we could say, oh no, well, screw you, we're dissolving or something like that. But now they'll be like, oh, hang on, we've looked into you, but you're participating with American citizens, and you can't just
You got a KYC, which we will give them.
What, even after we've ejected and dissolved the organization?
Oh no. When we
Yeah,
form it,
I'm saying after we deform it,
but we can legally disassemble. I don't know what point you're.
Well, no. Again, isn't America one of the worst countries in the why did Block One not accept funds from Yanks in their RCO?
Because of the regulatory risk.
Yeah, because of the regulatory risk, right?
But we have clarity now with Wyoming.
Yeah, with Wyoming, but does that cover all United States citizens? Like,
so what's the alternative though, John? So you're saying we better off.
We're advertising ourselves to the government. We're saying, hey, regulate us. And then and if we get in a situation where we don't like their rules anymore, we're going to say, oh, no thanks, no more rules, please. Doesn't mean they still can't come after us after we've ejected and dissolved it, especially if we're getting we got Eden members in America.
Okay, so there's two easy solutions to this one as I see it. If we formed a DAO and someone doesn't want to be a part of it, they can always secede and start a new pirate Eden that isn't tied, that doesn't want to have anything to do with anything legal because they're free man on the land or whatever. But otherwise, we're still here. It's not like the government can't find us. We're not using masks. So it's like I think we're more exposed right now by not attempting to conform to some sort of organization than just being some elusive thing that handles funds and sends it around. That's a bigger target, I would think, to the IRS.
Yeah, well, that's his point too. But again, if that were the case, then why not incorporate in the bloody do a Block One? Where are they? They're in the Bahamas or
Cayman Islands, but
Cayman Islands.
They don't have a DAO there.
Yeah, they don't have their own. They have their own token. They had to do that because they're issuing a new token. We're not issuing any tokens, so we're not in the purview of the SEC. We're not doing anything cloudy in the regulatory space, and it's just we got to dot our I's or cross our T's and be legit. We're grown ups.
No, we're legit now. We're not going to call ourselves legitimate once we've got the blessing of government.
Yes, they will.
No, but ourselves. I wouldn't say. Oh, are we illegitimate at the moment? Is Eden on EOS illegitimate?
In the eyes of the law,
as an entity receiving funds, you can make the argument. Yes,
in the eyes of the law, but it's not something that we're gonna feel ourselves. Otherwise, we've got no independence if we can't declare it ourselves.
Jeremy in the comments one step at a time. Let's get to where we're going first. We're already talking about getting kicked out of a DAO. Let's create one first. Yeah, I think we should, exactly. I get to hear a good downside of the DAO other than the government might notice us. I don't see that as being a big risk compared to all the advantages that we've mentioned. So like in the old scales of value here, I'm just not seeing the negative side being heavy enough yet. I need more, John. Give me more reasons to hate it. I know you hate government and you would love independence. Those are very strong points, and I appreciate the passion, but there's still some upsides here. Even just getting potential more donations from Block One, that alone could be a good reason to do this. More funding.
Don't say the B word. No.
Why? They exist. They're not. They're real. They're a real thing, and they might. There's nothing saying they couldn't. Not saying they will. Not saying we expect them to. But you never fucking know. It's like a door open policy, right? Why close it?
Yeah, but don't talk about a door that's been open for what 3 years and nothing's ever come through it, kind of thing. Like
Another
we're
interesting-
we're planting the seeds.
Day.
Oh, they'll come home one day. One day. It's like that's held us back. It's only now that we've taken responsibility for the network that things are ramping up.
You're an extremist in ideas. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with leaving the door open. You're saying
No, leave the door open, but don't say, oh, hang on, remember that door? Someone might walk through it, because again, then the rest of the community comes up with 600 other ideas of what Block One could have done, and we've been doing that for the past few years. Ever since the blockchain started, well, before the blockchain started, people have been talking about Block One could do X.
All right,
and we've
let's
said
not
that
get into
sentence
this,
a million
please.
times.
And
A million times.
I love talking about what could be.
And
I'm imagining
999,000.
Come on. I think,
nothing's ever happened.
all right,
Okay.
what are we gonna do as chief delegates in terms of decision making? Are we gonna do our own 2/3 plus one vote? Are we gonna go by simple majority? If John's the only one who doesn't want to set up a DAC and the rest of us do, like,
Then we do.
that's something we need to talk about as well.
Super majority for the win. Absolutely. That's what this is all about.
So there's 6 of us, right?
It's not an absolute majority. No way.
We-
That would
we-
defeat the purpose of consensus building. There's always a chance one person's going to be a holdout.
We're still going to get Dan's thoughts on it as well.
Thoughts? Absolutely. Blessing? I don't know if it's necessary.
I would say it's necessary, given that he's still got the Clarion team.
Yeah, and we couldn't form a DAC. I can't make a DAC. There's 17 people who started a working group
What?
to make Eden a thing. I can't form a DAO or with those people. It's from
But we need 5 out of 6, guys.
You
We
can
need
do
5 out of
so, but
6.
you would
Yeah.
be forking.
For us, yeah. I'd be forking. No, what are you talking about? I'm creating material to spread Eden. Where's the fork? It's taking a book and
If you're going against Clarion and Dan, then
how does
I'd
that
say
go
you-
against them? He wrote a book. I'm sharing his ideas. I'm helping.
I said
him. How's that-
if you go against, if Dan says nah, do not form a legal entity, you're going down a bad path, don't do it, and we say no, we'll do it. We're sort of forking.
No, I'm open to consensus building. So I would love to hear the reasons why he would say no. That's like, but I'm just pointing out the fact that I don't know we necessarily need his blessing to do it. We could kind of do anything as the chief delegates. It would be better, most certainly, to have his blessing. I completely agree. Go ahead, Jesse. 4 to 5.
Yeah,
4, 5
no,
or 6. 5 or 6.
I agree. We should get the important stakeholders' opinion on the stuff we're trying to do,
Mhm.
and to hear them out. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
I agree with that. So far, one stakeholder, Eve, has suggested that a DAC's a good idea. So that's worth noting.
A DAC.
DAO, sorry. DAO DAC. They're kind of the same thing, aren't they?
I think we're meant to be saying DAC at the moment because
Well, no, Wyoming goes by DAO.
Yeah, well, we say DAC until we're official. If we're official, then we could say DAO. But the whole reason why it was always DAO, and then they changed it to DAC because when you say community, it can't be misconstrued as a legal, entity and sued and shit like that. So that's why they went with the word, DAC.
Okay.
So yeah, until we are a legal entity, I'd say we probably shouldn't call ourselves one, in which case we should say DAC. But yeah, aren't we a DAC already?
Sure, we're a DAC thinking about becoming a DAO.
Yeah, illegally recognized DAO in the state of Wyoming.
Wyoming, why not? Huh? Huh? Yeah, right? Yeah, this is cool. I think this would be kind of exciting to do that. Jesse, can you send me that link? Did you send it to me already?
I already did, yeah.
Oh, you
Telegram
did?
DM.
Oh, Telegram. Okay, thank you. Awesome.
It's not a link. It's just I copied and pasted it from the thing.
Okay, right on.
Hey, guys, this is a great discussion. Thanks for having me. I got to get off. Chris, where do I pay for the Eden membership at?
You'll do it from your account. So I will send you, once this call's done, I'll get you a link in Telegram that you go to your profile, upload your picture, then I'll upload the video, and then everyone will check it to make sure it's good. And then once we all confirm it that the profile looks awesome, then you pay with your wallet.
Okay.
From your account that you gave me the address, like your account.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it, guys. This is great. And I'm looking forward to more meetings. So.
See you, Jeremy. Nice to meet you.
Yep. Nice to meet everyone. All right. Yep. Thank you, guys.
Cool. It's great meeting you, Jeremy.
Yep.
Thank you.
Everyone. All right. Bye-bye.
So just to reiterate,
Yeah.
Articles Organization Section 8, distributions to members prior to dissolution. So there's a legal process for dissolution if we don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Lucky us.
It's important to be able to succeed. This is a main tenet in Dan's book. We are quite lucky. I think it's a great idea. Yeah, this is the idea of having a core set of functions to have this thing function more like a legitimate organization, and to be able to go through Pomelo for direct funding as a organization. There's value there for sure.
Pomelo haven't said they're not going to fund us unless till we're a legal entity, though, have they?
Eve
They have
suggested-
not.
No, but there is KYC for recipients. So
That's fine. We can just have a chief delegate take on the KYC and delegate the funds after that.
maybe
No, but
no.
what if we're not the chief delegates anymore? Then
Whoever
they'd
the
have to
chief
get a new, like it shouldn't be from individuals. It should be from an entity.
Well, yeah, but you would have the funds go to a chief delegate account, which is what we're going to set up, and then you would just have whoever is chief delegate at the time do the KYC and accept those funds on behalf of Eden, and the Eden funds go directly to the chief delegate account.
No, it should be that the funds go to a smart contract.
Well,
Owned
the
by an
account can
entity.
be the account can be a smart contract, and the account will be owned by the Eden stuff. It'll be multi-sigged.
But then you'd have to change the multi-sig if new chief delegates get selected.
That's what the plan is already. What's wrong with that? Like, how else do you plan? Like, Eden is going to have an EOS account that's held by the chief delegates. That's part of the plan.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we need to be a legal entity.
Facilitates it. We can check though. I'll ask Daniel Keys what he thinks if there's an advantage to Eden having a legal entity for a Pomelo pitch. He'll be able to give us the answer.
The EOS Network Foundation has already funded the Eden community and also several DAOs that aren't registered, like DApp Account DAO, the DApp Governance, Bigger. I don't think any of them are registered. So I'm not sure if
How
there'd
do
be
you
a
know
difference
that?
between from the recent grants that were announced. There was
No,
like
but
a
how do
couple
you
days
know,
ago,
like, for
the
example,
11th.
DApp Account DAO is not a registered legal entity?
Hold on one second. My headphone just died. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. Like, I've been following the DApp Account DAO very closely since the inception, and also since the inception of the DApp Governance. So, like, say with DApp Governance, the Liquid Apps, Liquid Apps is a company, and they're registered, I'm pretty sure. But then just like a few months ago, they founded, or didn't really found, but they just created the DApp governance like fund and contracts with Guardians. And it seems like it's not really registered. It's just on-chain DAO. I'm not sure, but I've just been following closely and I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah, we'll check it
And,
out.
and also same with Eden too. I've been following Eden closely, and as far as I know, Eden doesn't have a legal structure, but the EOS Network Foundation funded Eden in the same kind of way.
Right.
Most definitely. Mm-hmm.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
Yeah. True that. It'd be cool though if we could do a DAO. I just think even just it's kind of cool in a way. It's like it's showing the power of EOS to have this governance thing and taking advantage of the legal framework. We can work within the law. We don't have to be outlaws.
It seems like it's really funding. I would guess the big pro is funding. And yes, EOS Foundation is funding entities that aren't legal entities, but there are other sources of funding besides the EOS Foundation. And perhaps if we're a legal entity, we would open ourselves up to more funding partners.
Yeah, but I'd say we shouldn't entertain those thoughts until we run into that, that roadblock. We should cross that bridge when we get there, kind of thing, rather than assume that we need it. Because from what we understand at the moment, that we don't have to be a legal entity to get Pomelo funding. So if the majority of our funding is coming from Pomelo and Network Foundation, which also don't require an organization, then let's wait until we find an organization that does require it.
Well, Eve must have had a reason to suggest it to us.
Maybe. Well, we'll see. Eve works in.
Maybe he had a reason. Of course he did.
What
He wouldn't have said he
works?
didn't have a reason.
No, but
Eve
was
works
Eve's
in
suggestion
mysterious
implied
ways.
of a legal structure, or did he just say like
Like-
a DAC, and the way John's saying it, where it's not a legal structure, we just have a multi-sig? Did you know what I mean? Did he imply a legal entity?
Plus, no one really wants to say no. Don't become a legal entity. Do not do it by the book, kind of thing, because then that makes them look, bad and can, in the eyes of the law as well. So I don't think he's going to say, he's not going to easily say no either. So it's like, hey, should I break the law? Sure. Doesn't typically happen.
Actually, Eve might not have mentioned it about a DAC or DAO. Let's see, does he? Oh, he did. Yeah. He first mentioned, what about the Eden board itself applying for Pomelo? That would qualify as a public good. That would give them one common budget. And then he said, what about incorporating Eden as a DAC? Has it already been registered?
Okay, so he is implying a legal entity.
Well, no, he just said DAC. Has a DAC been registered?
Yeah, registered by the law.
You can't. How do you register a decentralized? I don't know.
Through
Wyoming does it.
through Wyoming's thing.
Yeah, that's the
But I
one.
thought. Well, yeah. If we have DAOs and DACs as synonymous, then maybe. But again, he could have just meant has it been registered on a contract or something.
Maybe. I don't think so, but maybe.
Has it been registered on a contract? I don't think that's what he meant. What about incorporating Eden as a DAC? Incorporating, that sounds like incorporation to me. Eden as a DAC, has it already been registered?
Oh, did you say incorporating?
He did say the word incorporating. What about incorporating Eden as a DAC? Question mark. Has it already been registered? Question mark. So the answer was Dominic was looking into this as a DAO. He was talking with Dan about it. It just got stalled somewhere along the investigatory process. And I don't know where it's going from here. So I think the idea of forming some sort of overarching organization around Eden, it seems like it makes sense, especially if we're going to have a mission statement, a vision statement, then
Yeah.
a proper organization. Like Josh has spoken about this lots, like having an actual organization that does things that maybe are beyond just EOS, right? Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, but I think the mission statement can influence that, because again, if we're running a DAC and then we did get to the day where we control the EOS network and we're registered in the United States, and then they want censorship, or they say, oh, we want this taken down, and we're a registered company, you know, then we could be obligated to do that, you know, legally. Whereas if we weren't incorporated and we weren't, you know, a thing, then we might be in a better position
So
to resist that
another
censorship.
important point about the Wyoming situation is that, so I actually brought this up in the Telegram, EOS Network Foundation Telegram. Joshua and Randall had counters to what I said. I didn't really understand it because I'm not a lawyer or a tax person. Didn't make sense to me. But the point is a DAO in Wyoming must be an LLC. And Wyoming does not recognize nonprofit LLCs. So therefore, the DAO must be a for-profit LLC entity.
So then we're getting taxed.
Exactly.
Well, that's one reason. Bloody income tax now.
Let me find what they said. It was this morning.
What's the company tax rate in Wyoming then? Is that a federal or state thing?
I don't know. Joshua said that you can have a nonprofit entity that owns the for-profit DAO entity. And in that way, you can avoid the tax, but I didn't, you know, I don't know about that.
Well, shit, then now we need expenses on a tax accountant. And
Exactly.
legal. It's more overhead.
So
And then
yeah,
how many
the tax
people-
avoidance, like that's an issue.
And then how many people want to then take on the legal thing? Like if we have a new election, and then, you know, will there be people that say, oh, hey, I'm just here to vote. I don't want to go to the next round though, because I don't want to be, you know, legally responsible, you know, a member of the board of some, you know, legally recognized company with tax obligations kind of thing. So I'm just going to vote and someone else, you know, in my group can take that on. Is that what we want to do?
No, because the elected representatives don't have to assume board roles. There's a separation of authority and purpose and position there, right? There'd be fixed goals, fixed
Wait,
roles.
so on-
Is there?
Defined by-
So yeah, but so on the network, they're going to be the board and they're going to have the powers of the board. But in the real legal entity, it's the people that are hired are on the legal board. So there's two boards now.
That's right. You got it. Exactly.
Well, shit, now it's getting real complicated real quick.
There's only two. That's not that hard to understand. It's not like it's 37 factor of 8.
Yeah, but
it's just two.
But is that even legal? Like, is work, you know, is the government going to be happy about that by proxy board members?
Yeah, because we wrote it up in the article.
And what happens if the legal board's like, nah, screw that. You know, I don't want to, like, if the network board wants to do something and the legal board isn't sure how legal that is or is uncomfortable with doing that, they can then say, nah, I don't want to do it. It sounds like I'm too liable to X or Y. I'm not doing it.
What is it?
And then how much are we going to pay them to sit on this board and be these legal representatives? That can't be cheap.
Great question. I don't know. It'd be like a salaried job.
So, and how many board members are they going to be?
Excellent question as well. Excellent question.
So now we've got a lawyer to pay for, we've got a tax account to pay for, and then we've got people to pay just for sitting on the board and being our legal proxies. And again, to that to be American citizens.
Damn this system. No, we're
To-
going
to-
pirate. That's it. Shoot the sail. Skull and crossbones.
So do they have to be American citizens as well? Like, what's the requirements for sitting on this legal board?
No,
You are full of
I asked that
wonderful
question.
questions, John. These are great ones. Great ones. We'll have to figure all these out if they're going to actually happen. The Wyoming people probably would know. I have a feeling they probably have some insight if we actually talk to them. And Dominic, because he did talk to them. So I'm sure there's some answers floating around.
The last question I know, I asked the state rep specifically about international members of the DAO, and they said that it is allowed.
Yeah. Well, wait, members of the DAO or members of the board? Because it's an LLC that's being governed here, isn't it?
That's the DAO. Yeah.
So the DAO is an LLC,
Yes.
and so there's the legal board of the LLC.
No, those are the
The
DAO
operators.
members.
They're the operators of it.
Where so every member of Eden is going to be a member of the board?
No, just the ones who are operating the actual DAO organization itself.
Which are then
Selected by the chief delegates. And
Selected
replaced
by the
by the
chief
chief delegates via consensus.
Right.
And paid by the core funding that the organization then fundraises for. Which then takes care of the accounting piece. 'Cause
But-
the idea of paying taxes is only relevant if you have revenue that you need to pay taxes for.
yeah,
So
but
it kind of
but
moves
aren't we
that.
getting funds from US Network Foundation? Isn't that going to get
You sure about
taxed?
that? Have you confirmed that that's going to happen every time?
I don't know. It's another question, but again, it's another thing that we got to worry about if they change the tax laws next year as well. Maybe they'll increase the rate, or maybe they'll change it, or maybe they'll hold board members more accountable or something. It gets so unpredictable so much quicker, and then our independence is undermined because we're slave to whatever the Wyoming state government wants us to do in the hoops that we got to jump through, and
Okay.
expenses because of those hoops.
Speaking of the reason why you jump through hoops for funding, right? So I'll read to you a little exchange with Eve. This is from yesterday. Yesterday, yes. Eve was saying, can we talk about, he wants to do an election sooner, or suggests we do an election sooner because iterations are important. He said more iterations can help justify funding. Its purpose is to fund public goods. Talking about Eden, okay. With frequent meetings, he also wants us to have more frequent meetings. This is a suggestion, we could have more compressed and very targeted agenda that turns into a series of mini targets, those being funded by the group. So the budget is spent as a unit, you being stewards, being us, the chief delegates. He said meetings are essentially assigning budgets, deciding where and why, if they are public goods, should they qualify. This iteration is the first iteration, but with each one, things should get smoother and more efficient. And then I said, good argument, I'll add this to the thing. Okay, hold on, I get to the crux of his point in one moment. He said, running your funds quickly necessitates way more funding, and thus would require more frequent elections, in my opinion. So then I said from that, well, not exactly, since the funding disbursement is limited to 5% of the Eden Treasury. So I didn't understand, he said, if we run through the funding faster, we get more funding, but you can't because elections don't mean more funding, right? It's always just 5%. So I said, so in an election, 3 months doesn't mean more funding unless the Treasury will receive an additional allocation from, say, the ENF. Can you share any insight about how the ENF will approach additional funding for the current Eden? His answer to that was to use an up finger pointing to this comment, which was, what about the Eden board itself applying for Pomelo? Would that qualify as a public good? That would give them one common budget. The board should meet, yeah. So that was his answer to whether the ENF will continue to fund Eden.
Through Pomelo, which
DAO is good.
he would want a legal entity.
I think it'd be preferable.
So
Yeah.
So what would the funds that go to Eden do?
What they're doing right now, plus a little bit more to cover. more
So what we're doing now is allocating funds to projects, right?
Depends.
So
on-
we're going to go on a platform that allocates
Oh,
funds to
okay.
projects to get funds to allocate funds to projects.
That's right.
Sounds a bit,
and to get funds to facilitate our legal entity.
And everything else we do. That's right. It's not always projects too. That's subject. That's not entirely the truth. I'm not a project yet. I'm funding myself. So
but why do we need to be a legal entity if the funds are just coming through Pomelo anyway?
Because we wouldn't get them otherwise, is
It probably
the implication.
it's
Okay,
more
so yeah,
legitimate.
wait, so wait, so we want to be a legal entity so we can get funds from Pomelo, and to do that, we want to use funds from Pomelo.
Yeah. So what's the
Yeah.
problem? Yeah.
Well,
no.
that doesn't work because we can't get the funds until we're a legal entity. So
Exactly. We need to form the legal entity in advance. That's right. So we're gonna have to take that upon ourselves. The heavy lifting.
okay,
we shall
so
do.
so before we get funds from Pomelo, we're gonna become a legal entity with the existing funds that we got, or whatever. Become a legal entity, and then now that we're a legal entity, that we can get funds from Pomelo to then distribute those funds to other projects, which is already what Pomelo already does, but we're just doing it in a different fashion because we've, elected the people who decides and
Yes.
makes those decisions through the Eden framework.
More is better.
Yes.
Sounds pretty convoluted.
You just described it.
Not
perfectly.
really.
You just painted a perfect picture. That was perfectly clear, non-convoluted. You actually completely made it non-convoluted. Thank you.
but I don't know. Like in terms of funds of allocation, I prefer the Pomelo method. I reckon, like the fund matching and how they got
You can
different
still do that.
uses and stuff like that.
Yeah, you could do that.
Well,
too.
yeah. But again, we still haven't yet determined if we even need to be a legal entity to receive funds from Pomelo, though, right?
No, suggested by Eve. I mean, he suggested that we.
Right. We will find that out shortly.
Okay, so if that wasn't the case, then would we need to be a legal entity?
I think there's advantages still.
Like what?
Really, again, we've given you them all already.
Well, you just said more avenues of getting funding from other sources, right?
It creates a
Because
framework.
it's safer from a
Yeah, right.
regulatory perspective. If we're receiving funds and we're not paying taxes on them right now. So that's
So-
a form of tax avoidance.
So yeah,
And if we get caught, then that's a risk.
so we're going to sell to the community, hey, don't use, well, the funding doesn't have to go from Pomelo directly to the project. The funding can go directly to us, and then there'll be a tax on all the funding that goes to us, though, because part of that is that we got to fund our legal entity, we're going to pay our lawyer, we're going to pay our board members,
That's not
and
a
then
tax.
with
Those are services.
well, I mean a tax as in this is what we have to pay in order to it's the overhead cost.
Is there
So-
value in that overhead though? I
So
see.
rather than those funds go to the community projects, instead they're going to go to lawyers, they're going to go to the legal stuff, they're going to be taxed, and then with the funds that are left over, then we're going to distribute.
No, but those
the
funds
US
wouldn't be
projects.
there otherwise.
What do you mean they wouldn't be there otherwise?
Yeah,
If
They would not be there otherwise
why not?
because we're not a legal entity.
Yeah, but the community can choose to go directly to Pomelo for funding, or they could go to Eden, getting money from that's been left over from all the overhead of doing it legally, when they could have just went to Pomelo directly.
No, but they not necessarily, because on Pomelo you need to be a public good, number one. And if you're an individual that wants to work on their own thing for profit, they can't go on Pomelo. So they need a different avenue to get funding. And our ability to raise funds, the amount of funds, yes, we're paying lawyers, we're paying accountants, but you're making, it's not the same. That pie is going to be a lot bigger, theoretically, if we're a legal entity, even minus the accounting and the lawyer, there's going to be more funds left over to distribute to projects who can't go on Pomelo otherwise because of the restrictions on Pomelo.
All right, so hang on, have we discovered a new dynamic here? Pomelo is only going to fund non-profit projects, where we're going to fund for-profit projects?
No,
It's not
public goods.
for profit or non-profit. It's public good versus private good.
Public good. So Pomelo is going to fund the public good projects, and we're going to fund the private good projects.
we can felt pirate good.
Yes, potentially.
Or
Yes.
do we want to? I thought we want to.
That's up to the elections. That's subjective.
Why? What? In what cases are we? Is it better for Eden to fund private stuff than the public stuff?
No, but it's not only private stuff. There's a popularity aspect to Pomelo as well. You need a bunch of people to donate to your project on Pomelo for you to do well with the matching partners. And if you are not a well-known project, if you're a person, that person can come to the Eden board and pitch only 6 people, and we can fund that person and perhaps they wouldn't do as well on Pomelo.
So the case where someone doesn't want to pitch to the broad community, but instead just wants to pitch to 6 board members of Eden instead.
Yes. As EOSBs, we put in a lot of effort with a lot of people to get the community to know who we are. It's not something that one person can do. And so it's not very efficient. And it's hard. And there should be other ways to get funding than having the whole community to know about you.
Yeah, but if the community is going to discover you for Pomelo, there's going to be plenty of projects that no one knows about until they get their pitch. No one knew about EOS until they put out the RCO and stuff got happening through marketing and all that. And another thing then is if projects don't want to bother with the marketing and stuff on that, like how many interviews is Eden going to have to go through with all the different projects kind of thing? It doesn't seem like it's going to scale very well. Like, who's going to get the right of being able to get in a meeting with the chief delegates on Eden? Do you book it? Is there a limited amount of, there's a limited amount of time with the chief delegates? Is everyone going to get, passed? Seems like
we
a
can hire a scout.
very inefficient.
We can hire scouts.
Very inefficient way of doing it compared to just what Pomelo provides.
If someone, John, if someone puts the effort into it, into reaching us, that is a gauge on whether we should engage with someone.
Well, I don't know. I would disagree. Like everyone's got effort. Everyone has good hopes of intentions. It doesn't mean
no, they don't.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, a lot of people have good hopes of intentions. It doesn't mean that that there's an unlimited supply or there's the same supply of chief delegate time and stuff like that. And then again, if Eden is purely funding, then again, how are we going to deviate from the current election process where it's just, hey, because one of the criticisms that we had was everyone was just pitching their projects, right? You pitched your spears, I pitched Violet Garden. So hasn't the decision in terms of funding already been made? It's like, hey, we're going to pitch, elections are going to have people pitching projects, and then people say, yeah, I like that project, I'll delegate you so you can put the funds towards it. And then once the system is up, then we're going to then conduct interviews of new projects or whatever that also want funding, and then the funds are then going to get shared. Like how much funds do we think we're going to have in order to facilitate this?
Not all of us ran on projects in the chief delegates, and those who did not, I believe, had the mission of finding other projects, like Brandon. And so those are the people who can delegate the funds. And yes, there's a time constraint. I understand that. And that's with everything. But it's just another avenue that you can potentially find funding at. If Brandon sees a project that he really likes, the community gave him that power to do so.
Yeah, but if Brandon really likes it, chances are that the rest of the community could too, and they can just do so with their own vote through.
Yeah, but that person doesn't have the marketing to do well on Pomelo. you need incredible amounts of marketing to do well on Pomelo.
Yeah, but like, what's harder to get the marketing, or get in the interview with Eden with a chance that there's going to be any money left for them?
Why can't you?
It
do both, though?
depends.
Why are these mutually
Yeah.
exclusive ideas? It seems like it's like they both.
Well, they're
both-
not
both-
mutually exclusive, but I just can't see the anyone being sold on the idea, or enough people being sold on the idea that that's what, you know, Eden will be, you know, used for, and that'll make, you know, much good for the community. It doesn't seem like there's enough profit in terms of productivity for the network to facilitate it and support it.
Support what? I'm confused now. You don't think Eden?
No, he's saying support the chief delegate's Pomelo pitch, I believe is what he's referring to.
Or just support Eden in general with the funding to facilitate this way of funding projects compared to what, you know, Pomelo comes up with.
Yeah, so we want to do both. We want to want to use all the tools that we can, and yeah, I think that we should diversify all of the ways that people can get funded, and we have been chosen, or at least some of the chief delegates ran on and been chosen for delegating to other projects, and they need more funding to do that. And so I think it's an appropriate way to do it by having a chief delegate on Pomelo.
Yeah, but if there's like 50 projects that need funding and they don't have the resources to do the marketing to do well enough on Pomelo, there's only about 5 projects that could be, you know, funded by Eden with the limited amount of funds that we do have, right?
That's why they should go to Pomelo. Exactly. You nailed it. And we can use the
Wait,
Eden.
what?
We can share.
So people should go to Eden until Eden runs out of money, and then if Eden runs out of money, then go to Pomelo?
No, you do both at the same time. Again, non-mutually exclusive. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a both.
Okay, so the strategy is go to Pomelo for your funding, and then
Both.
see if you can book in an interview with the Eden delegates.
I don't know why
If-
you do that. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Wait, what?
Why is that a potential? Like, that doesn't need to happen. Why are they coming to us directly to pitch their projects? I would turn them. I do exactly what Eve is saying for them to do. Go to Pomelo. If you want me to support you as an Eden.
Okay.
Pomelo.
So if you got the resources for funding and you're feeling confident enough for Pomelo, use Pomelo. If you're not feeling confident enough, then
Use Pomelo.
go to. Sorry.
Then use Pomelo. If you're not feeling confident enough, you still use Pomelo.
So in what cases do you go to Eden then?
Every 6 months, you run an election. Except
Yeah,
Eden probably more or less like people.
Okay, so you don't want to do the whole.
The Eden chief delegates will donate to a project they like on Pomelo.
Exactly. And they'll also share their funding with other Eden members to also delegate, so you can multiply. So I see your project, John. I love it. I love what you do. I love your tenacity and your candor and the way you interact. So I want to give some of my chief delegate EOS to 100 different Eden members. I contact them one by one. We have like an Eden army, almost like the bees. Huh, how coincidental. And they all work together under a single sort of thought that, like, here's a bunch of money coming from my account, 1,000 EOS. Now 100 different people are going to give 10 EOS each to John, which now gets maximum matching from Pomelo.
Hang on.
Perfectly
Hang
gated
on.
For optimum. And then the pièce de résistance is if you don't get enough funding, now that you've done so well in your Pomelo pitch, ENF comes along and says, hey, we love what you did. You got so much community support. Now we can very openly also support your project because we don't have to run the risk of looking like we're colluding or any cronyism. The community has spoken, we're just here to help.
But Jesse made it sound like, you know, that Eden can help the little guy who can't afford the marketing to get recognized on Eden. But you're saying go on Eden anyway.
Pomelo.
On Pomelo.
Oh, sorry, go on Pomelo anyway.
That's right.
But how are they going to get
And then
recognized
the
if they're in the
chief
same pool of
delegate-
everyone else?
Because the chief
Okay.
delegate gives them the marketing. The
They
chief
help.
delegate who has a lot of followers.
But how does the
announces
chief
that they-
how does the chief delegate find them?
They find me. I already announced it on the last, I think you might remember that part where I said I try to help everybody do a Pomelo pitch. There was it. I'm Telegram. You can go to my Eden profile. You can find me. I answer all my PMs and I will help them with their pitch. That's
Yeah.
There we go. Problem solved.
I think this interview thing, that there's not enough time for interviews. I think we're thinking about it the wrong way. A person can DM Chris or Brandon versus trying to get the whole EOS community, like the EOS Bees did,
Yeah.
to recognize them. And that is a powerful and diversified way to get your project recognized. And then if Chris or Brandon likes the project, they tell them, go on Pomelo, we'll tweet about it. EOS Bees will tweet about it. And then that way they can get their awareness.
Okay, so from the top, the election process happens. Some people pitch their own projects, like me and Jesse did. Some other people go on the pitch that, you know, hey, this is my personality, this is my character. You know, if you choose me, you know, choose me to represent you, and then I can, you know, use my judgment to go through projects on Pomelo and then delegate my portion of funding towards them, right?
Yeah.
So it's up to the Eden members to delegate their vote to, and you know, the person to go to the next round to represent them in terms of where they want their funds to go. And so then they get elected, and then new projects come along. These projects go, you know, to Pomelo first, and then some projects are going to be nicer and better marketed than others. And then but once they're listed and they're official, they're registered, then if they want to, they can then slide into Chris's DMs and say, hey, Chris, you know, I noticed that you still got money left and that you haven't. Sorry?
They should come to me before they put their pitch up so I can help them with their YouTube interview to help give them maximum awareness so they can maximize that. But anyway, yeah, keep going. Yeah.
Okay, so they go to Chris on the assumption that Chris hasn't already spent his money, because there's no shortage of people that are looking for money for their projects. So let's say that Chris hasn't already spent his money. He's looking for a project that he wants to invest in. And so then what in your case, then, you know, he helps them with their pitch. The pitch then goes on Pomelo. He then funds the project, and then
Project gets funded.
That project gets funded. So again, there's essentially six people, and then, you know, the head delegate that's got funds, and then you know the first round as well, they have a small amount. So but the point is, where you know, Eden elected people, the chief delegates, they're essentially just people that are trusted by existing Eden members to delegate funds towards Pomelo projects, right?
Yes. And some of the chief delegates, yes.
Okay. But if that's the case, I would say there's not enough, you know, the reason why.
Yeah, there's not enough funds now, but there's going to be more.
No, it's not a matter of funds. It's just the reason why we have the whole idea of that Eden isn't a direct democracy. Dan says don't do direct democracy because there isn't enough time to, you know, govern stuff, right? Like you can't spend, you know, 6 months of your life, you know, researching, voter apathy. But the voter apathy costs of just picking a project on Pomelo is so little that I feel like it's somewhat redundant, and you'd just be better off just saying, hey, let's get the Eden treasury, let's do a dividend amongst all the Eden members on a smart contract, and then that smart contract allows them to delegate their EOS funds to whatever project they want. Because otherwise, you could just go in the election and say, oh, Chris, I've decided what projects I want funded. Can you give my portion to so-and-so for me? Like,
no, so I disagree with
there's no voter apathy there.
I disagree with one of your assumptions that Pomelo is going to be easy to identify projects. Pomelo is going to be loaded with projects, and it's not going to be clear as a person who submits a grant on Pomelo. It's not going to be easy to highlight your project amongst the others on Pomelo.
But same way with Chris. You know, Chris gets elected, and the community knows that there's only 1 or 2 projects he can pick with a limited amount of funds that he's got. So he's going to be overwhelmed with a bunch of DMs saying, "Oh, Chris, my project, pick my project. It's awesome. Can I get can I get your help?"
Obviously,
Chris?
this is for
And then-
more funding. This is when Chris has more funding than now. Through us going on Pomelo, we have a lot of marketing. The chief delegates have like 10 out of 10 marketing on EOS. So if we go to Pomelo, we can use our reputation to get more funding, and then we delegate that funding to Chris and Brandon, who can pick other projects to go on Pomelo and donate on Pomelo.
There's lots of ways to do this, but in the end, I don't see the problem with trying to use Pomelo to its maximum influence. Like, it's just
Right, they're not
how it's
mutually
set up.
exclusive.
Well,
No, it's a both thing.
well, again, you know, Pomelo functions with the money that is, you know, given. So it's not so much maximizing the thing. It's questioning, you know, so we're essentially designing a system where a certain amount of funds are going towards the community, in which case Eden members. So certain amount of funds to go towards, you know, that are meant for EOS projects are going towards the Eden community to then delegate to these Pomelo, you know, projects. And we've decided, or that we believe, that direct, you know, delegating that is not, you know, it's not beneficial for Eden members to just directly pick what Pomelo projects they're excited about, but instead delegate that to someone else. Like if you want to delegate it, why can't you just do it with the dividend? Like why not set up the dividend contract to say, I don't know what project I want to vote for, I'll just delegate mine to Chris. Why do we need an election process to do that?
Because they're not as trusted as Chris.
They're not as trusted as Chris.
They're not as capable of selecting projects.
It's like we're using this book to solve that problem, right? Like we're picking people, we're delegating.
Anyways, guys, I gotta go. I will see you in our next meeting. Good to talk to you guys.
Later, Jesse.
Later.
Yeah, I mean, that's we'll just have to see how it goes. I mean, in the end, John, I think it's, of course, you may disagree with a lot of this stuff, but in all reality, there's just not much you can do to stop it. Like, people are going to pitch on Pomelo, and I'm going to help them, and whatever I want to do with my budget, I can do. And if that means supporting a bunch of Pomelo pitches, you can have a negative opinion, but I mean, I can still do it.
Is that what it is? A negative opinion?
You seem fairly, yeah, negative. Yeah, I'd say it's somewhat negative toned. Like, you're definitely in the mood of shooting holes in anything that's put forward. But that's okay. That's important. That's an important role to play.
Yeah, well, I think it comes from a sense that the resources and the energy of Eden can be better spent. And again, we need good debate to weigh up the pros and cons. So again, you need people that are fighting for the idea, and you need people that are shooting at it to see if it can withstand the pressure. I think any idea introduced in any sort of democratic fashion should have that.
Don't disagree.
You know,
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I don't disagree at all.
So but yeah, I wouldn't then call it, though, you know, negative.
Well, okay, fine. You're positively trying to shoot holes in it.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel we're sort of stunting. We're holding back the potential of Eden if we limited it to just a new method of allocating funds. It could be more than that. We could push it further. We could do new things.
100%. That's why I was on a call for an hour and a half today talking to Chuck, who's going to go to a room full of 100 people on Wednesday to do an Eden thing. And my wife's
Also,
kids.
sorry, well, Eden on EOS. I know there's plenty of, you know, Eden itself, yeah, is out of the back. Like the cat is out of the bag. People can do what the hell they want with Eden. It's up to us to decide what the hell we do with Eden on EOS.
Yeah,
I feel like we
still
need
think
it.
they're somewhat connected, but the only people that know about this are the people who are neat on EOS. So I mean,
Yeah,
there's an
it's-
overlap of community.
It's connected now, but like you could say, democracy is connected to countries that use democracy.
Yeah, you can say that.
But
Not the same people though. I just mean there's a community, the actual individuals involved. There's a high amount of overlap. 100% overlap, in fact. Everyone who was on the call today and who's joined that group are all Eden members. Even Dennis, who's going to join, he'll be an Eden member. So that's something that's probably worth, that's the other idea of this DAO, is it can have more of a mandate than just Eden on EOS potentially. A little more freedom. If you had a salary position and their job was to expand the Eden membership experience, like Josh talks a lot about, right? We want to grow the membership. We need to talk about the membership experience. So not all of that membership experience is necessarily tied to just EOS necessarily. It's just about being a member and donating your 10 EOS a year. So that's another function that might not necessarily want to reside in the chief delegates, because they're going to change every 6 months potentially and have an entirely new set of chief delegates. I think that's one of the advantages of the DAO, is it can then justify permanent roles that are appointed by chief delegates, but can allow the individuals to not be subject to the whims of a successful election to have a role. It's just that those who are elected, part of their pitch is who would they nominate for these particular roles? Would they keep the people who are there? Would they nominate new people? It just can become part of the additional pitch.
yeah, but what's that got to do? Like, what was your definition of DAO when you say that?
What were we talking about? Registering with the old nasty
Yeah,
government.
but the same thing could be facilitated without that. You don't have to be a DAO to do that.
No, but I personally don't have the same apprehension towards this government organization that you have. So I can appreciate where you're coming from, but I just don't look at it the same way. I don't.
Yeah, but it's just that you said that the benefits of being a DAO, a legally registered thing, is that we can do X, Y, Z, but we can just as well do X, Y, Z without being a DAO. That's irrelevant.
Fair enough. I just prefer to do it under a DAO structure.
Yeah, but we can do it. Yeah, well.
Yeah,
Okay, so
we can do it
yeah,
with that.
you prefer to do it as a legally registered entity, but well, yeah,
I think
we
it
can
opens
still.
us up to more opportunity. Yeah, if we're going to try to go to different schools and like educate this idea, form an actual organization and a proper website that talks about the Eden process, for example, that's not just Eden on EOS. That's an organization that should form. It could be totally separate. I mean, there's 17 of us. We could easily just do it on our own and not even tie it to Eden on EOS. I don't think that's necessarily like, it's not a, I don't see, like it, to me, it's together is actually better. It's like, why not have this Eden thing become, a Chinese Eden and a Korean Eden and a Spanish Eden? And so there might be value in having this sort of legitimate legal entity that's pushing these things and trying to encourage what you talked about. You don't think we should try to help the Chinese Edens. You mentioned that before. We should just kick out the current members and let them form their own because they can, right? That's a fair point, but maybe that's another example of where a DAO that has value, because they can be the ones who take on this nurturing role of growing the Eden communities.
Still can't match up the event, why the DAO part is relevant there. That the same thing can be done without the DAO part though.
Yeah, that's fine. It can be done without the DAO part. Sure, your point's very valid.
Okay, well, I'm not sure how productive it is to say this can be done with a DAO when the exact same thing can be done without the DAO.
Because one comes with the privileges and authority that a DAO has when the other one doesn't. So a DAO does something. Otherwise, why would anyone do it?
Yeah,
Why-
DAO does something, but the things that you have listed are not DAO, relevant. The
Well,
exact same thing can be accomplished with or without the DAO.
You're saying they're redundant. Yeah, they can be done both ways, but they can be done both ways. So just because, like, it doesn't mean just because it's DAO
but
necessary, it doesn't mean that DAO doesn't have value.
but anyone listening to that one would think this, you know, X can be done with a DAO,
Mhm.
makes one think that it can't be done without, you know,
Oh, well, you've made your point. It can be done without a
without the
DAO.
DAO.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, man. You said it. Yeah,
Okay.
it can be done without a DAO. No problem. It can also be done with a DAO.
Yeah.
Yeah. This idea, like nothing's mutually exclusive. It's either it can be both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. But I'm assuming I'm not educated enough, and I will learn. But I'm guessing there's reasons why people bother doing this DAO thing. There has to be a reason. That's an advantage.
So-
Someone somehow. So maybe we should maybe there's nothing that would be good for Eden. That's a possibility. It could do nothing for Eden that's beneficial. Maybe. Or it does one thing that's good. We don't know. We got to do more research because there must be reasons why it's useful to somebody.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Yeah, no, it was a good one. I didn't think open mic would be so fruitful.
It was heated. We got lots of ideas. Yeah, we can shut her down. We're going on 3 hours again. Although I see Felix is on. He hasn't said anything. Are you listening, Felix? Have we bored you with our DAO, non-DAO?
No, it's interesting. I just hopped on real quick, check out what was going on. But I am a little curious, John, about Violet Garden. Kind of, do you have a roadmap out? I haven't really looked for it, but I wasn't sure if there was like kind of what your next plans are for. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm working on a roadmap. At the moment, it's kind of up in the air because I'm kind of waiting on Pomelo. It's basically whatever funds the project is really going to, you know, direct it. Like if I get a bunch of cash that comes with a condition that I do X, Y, Z, then obviously the roadmap is going to be different to that. So at the moment, I'm just keeping it simple. And then once, you know, I get funding, then I can have something a bit more concrete. But I have made a couple posts here and there about the ideas and stuff that we're gonna, you know, deliver. You know, one of the things being NFTs that are generated from posts, and then token staking towards profiles and things like that. But yeah, roadmap is still in the works.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know. My only, I guess, feedback or something I'm kind of interested in is like, so I see, you know, everyone bids on posts. I mean, and I know, you know, this is very like a minimum MVP, but like, I think what would be cool is if, you know, something was ranked. So we see like the top posts. Cause I think, you know, right now there's just a lot of noise and,
Yeah.
but like I said, I get though that you've got it's just the MVP right now, but yeah, that'd be cool. I think, cause if Violet Garden kind of become like the main source of, you know, gaining all the information from the community, and really it allows like the voice of the community to be represented by just going on Violet Garden, and you're seeing these top posts based off what the community's bidding their tokens for. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. It would definitely help, you know, raise a flag and sort of help show like what's the sort of important, the sort of viral content. Yeah, no, fantastic point. I fully agree with you. It's yeah, I'll get that done soon. There's like, I don't know, there's like 8 things that I could do that would take me like 2 weeks to do, all of which are just as equally important, you know, kind of thing. But yeah, I'm interviewing people at the moment, trying to get another developer to speed things up. And again, once I get funding, then everything changes.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm excited, man. Keep it up. That's it's definitely added some fire to the Eden community.
What was your thoughts on the name? Actually, I'll get everyone's opinion because people don't really quite like the name Violet Garden. What would you think of the name just Garden? And then the domain would be garden.social.
I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one because the thing that comes to my head, I think it would be kind of interesting to maybe pose the idea is, but I mean, I guess Voice is using that with the NFT, but it would be funny to be like, you know, shoot, like, I mean, you can't call it voice, but it would be funny if it was called voice. And then like
Yeah.
make the whole pitch of like, hey, voice, like change it to something that's relevant to NFTs, because if Violet like I've said it before, I feel like Eden is like the voice of EOS, and so if Violet Garden is the social media that's really helping like broadcast the voice of the Eden community, then voice just fits right in. But I mean, I think Garden's cool too, because that does go with the Eden theme.
Well, that's
But
part of
yeah.
the reason. That's part of the reason that Violet came along, right? Because again, if the voice token was, on the EOS mainnet, probably the symbol would have been VOI. So then I thought, I'll go VIO. So like I did try, kind of tap into that name a bit. So that's part of the reason why Violet is a thing. But I don't know. But apparently another definition for garden is a large public hall. Like Madison Square Garden. So also helps there, not only just the Garden of Eden.
Yeah. I think maybe keeping it to one word too might be
Yeah.
better for marketing purposes too. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you're looking for, I guess, or you're thinking about different things, if I think of something cool, I can shoot it
Yeah.
your way. But
Definitely. What do you think, Chris?
I think garden sounds cool. Violet Garden, I also like the color violet. So, I mean, I didn't mind that as well. But in terms of simplicity and like meaning in the name, garden's kind of neat.
keep the violet theme.
Yeah. I kind of like the color scheme that I got going on. So maybe I'll keep that. But yeah, garden, easier to say. I still got to look into the trademark stuff. I don't know, see how likely it is that I get sued or something. But yeah, at least with Violet Garden, it's less likely that people are gonna do trademarks and things for it and crap like that. So yeah, we'll see.
It is cool that the definition of it is like the meeting hall. I hadn't thought about that before with Madison Square Garden, but like that's pretty neat.
Yeah, that was I didn't even know that until after I picked it as well. So I'm like, oh, it's even better.
Perfect.
Right, it works well.
Yep, garden.
Cool.
Okay, well, I can shut this down. Yeah, we're 3 hours deep here. Solid open mic night. I'll get this to Earthman to post on his YouTube, and probably, I don't know, I guess we'll talk maybe to the group if we should put these on the official channel. It's one of the things we discuss and decide.
Cool. All right. Thanks for your time. I'll see you in the next Chief Delegate meeting, Chris.
Right on. Thursday. Coming right up. Check.
Cheers.
See you guys. See you, Dan.
Bye.
Felix, John Lang, thanks for listening in.
I see you guys. Thanks for the great conversation.
All right.
Take care, guys.